Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 251. As always, I am one of your hosts, Mike Martin. Today, joined by the Bubbles, Blossom, Buttercup of LA, Jesse, Alex, and very special guest, Mr. Arin Hanson. None other than one of the Game Grumps, one of the Grumps, one of the, you've seen Arin fucking everywhere. Voiceovers in plenty of cartoons, video games. If you know the name Arin Hanson, you probably have heard of him and seen him in many things. Thank you so much, Arin, for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Which Powerpuff Girl am I?
That's a great question.
Actually, we spend about 4 minutes at the top of each episode talking about this because he always says we're someone
Different every week. Yeah.
What is it? Bubblecup, Blossom,
Bubblecup, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. The Powerpuff Girls. Come on.
Bubblecup is a great. That's a fusion, dude.
I was gonna say it's like a fucking DBZ fusion of one of them. Can someone get that? Can we get an artist to draw that on the subreddit?
Oh, somebody already has.
I feel like I'm Bubbles.
You're definitely not. I would say you're definitely not Buttercup.
But I don't know. That's me. Maybe it's just because I'm totally blue right now, but that's just me.
Jesse's Buttercup then.
No, I'm Blossom.
You Blossom?
Mm-hmm. It's the red hair.
Arin Buttercup. How does that feel with you? How does that land? How does that land on your shoulders?
Arin's Buttercup.
Buttercup's the angry one. Yeah.
Yeah, the green one.
All right, there you go. I'll take it, man. She was always my favorite anyway.
Yeah, there you
go. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Usually it'd be top of the show. Before we even dive into anything, Alex has a question that we like to level at all of our guests to kind of gauge some a bit of your. Well, I'll leave it to Alex. Alex, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with our show, but there's three of us. I don't want to say it's because of this. It's just a happy accident. But we kind of have landed into the three roles of like the believer, the skeptic, and the dude who smokes weed. So, first of all, where do you land on paranormal, government conspiracies, aliens, all the different things that we do on the show? Where are you at in that zone, first of all?
I think as long as it doesn't get racist, it's just fun.
We teach that lesson quite often, how quickly things like that can get racist very, very fast.
That is a very, very good description of what it feels like to open up a book of 101 incredible UFO stories.
I had somebody in my life who was just going harder than I had ever heard before. You know, I've read and watched videos of certain things and read little articles and kept track of stuff and I'm like, oh, that's neat. This is neat over here and stuff. And it's just kind of fun little hoo-ha. And then this guy in my life was just going off about like, bro, there's like space brothels and like, and I'm like, what? And he's like, everything you see in sci-fi movies is true. Like, go watch this. And I'm like, okay. And I watched the documentary he sent me. And I'm sure y'all have seen it. I don't remember what it was called, but it started out like fun. And then about an hour in, then it started getting like, uh-oh. And I had to turn it off.
Unsavory.
At a certain point.
Do you think it was directed by the guy whose uncle works at Nintendo?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's my dad. So my dad works at Nintendo.
Well,
nice.
There you go.
Yeah. There's only one guy that works at Nintendo, and it's my dad. So.
The issue is that description of a documentary could be so many different documentaries I've seen that they just get to a point where you're like, we've crossed a Rubicon here.
That's what always happens in the lore episodes.
We're getting very racist very quickly.
So quickly.
It's so fast.
The deep lore, though, is it keeps getting more racist the deeper you go in to the point where
one mask off.
It's like, oh no, there's like multiple aliens.
One mask off.
But they're all controlled by the tall whites. And you're like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, they look like Nordic people. And you're like, what?
They're the cleanest of the aliens. Yeah. It's like, you're like, what?
Can't it just be funny, silly little guys with the big eyes and they run around going, blah, blah, blah. Like, why can't it just be that, you know?
Yeah.
Just give me that.
Anyway, it's a wonderful world we live in. So you said as long as it's not racist, it's just fun. I love that. Do you have, despite your chill attitude towards this type of stuff, do you have any like personal stories or like that time your grandma saw or whatever, or, you know, anything that like floats around at when everybody's a little tipsy at Thanksgiving or whatever?
Yeah, I do. I have one thing that happened to me. I've wanted to see a UFO my whole life, and I've never seen one. And I've tried just literally screaming in the yard naked for them to come, and they've never shown up. Seriously. And, you know, I've heard the story, like I was sort of knew someone tangentially who could like summon them. You know, there was like, and it's like, oh, look, there's a new dot in the sky. That's crazy. But I never saw him do it. Anyway, my story involves, I lived in Palmdale for a brief period of my life, which is like, over an hour north of LA, kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I know it well.
Yeah. It's not a great place, but it's close to an Air Force base.
Shout outs Palmdale. Yeah.
And I was driving home one night. It was like 2 a.m. From LA, and I got trapped behind like this convoy, and it was like a military convoy and police, and they were escorting a flatbed truck that had like just the most stereotypical like saucer with a dome on the top, uncovered, and they were just blasting through lights. And this was in a time where the phone I had was a Sidekick, and I tried to take a picture.
Very specific era.
Yeah, and it was just it was not happening. I was like snapping picture after picture, and it was just like complete and total darkness. I was like, this sucks.
Oh my god!
At a time where that kind of instant information sharing it was still budding. It was still growing.
Yeah, exactly. And so I, throughout the years, kind of looking back up on stuff, and finally this like declassified like drone ship came up that kind of looked like what I saw. And I was like, okay, I think this might be it. And they were just like testing it and like bringing it back or something. But it's from the angle I was looking at it, it's like I can't make it up. Just straight up like Looney Tunes ass,
saucer,
just with the
alien inside,
the boop on the top, and then
Marv's in there.
Dude, it was crazy.
I love that.
Banging on the glass. Need to take over Earth.
That was fun. That was my only experience. I never saw anything in the air. Nothing like that.
More than I ever got, man.
I mean, props to you for immediately being like, I wonder what that was factually. Let's Google that.
Yeah, because it's obviously most of this stuff is that, I'm sure you know that guy. I wish I knew his name, who just like immediately debunks everything with fucking like flight paths and stuff.
There's a lot of people like that, but yeah, there's those people are needed though, because like if we're gonna figure out what's actually anomalous, we need to be able to strike out what we know is our tech or something in like a satellite or whatever.
My feeling is like, if you're ride or die, if you're like aliens are fucking real and people need to know the truth and all that shit, if you're like truly like Fox Mulder ass dude, you should be like the biggest proponent of like
debunking.
Yeah, like figure that out for real. Like, let's get definitive answers.
Yeah, stop giving me a hard time, internet, when I say it's not real. And you're like, he's ruining the show.
It's good, because if you weren't here, there's been one episode where it was you were not here, and we had Santel in place, and shit went off the rails for
it was crazy, was it?
Hours.
That was a threat from me to the audience about what happens when Jesse's gone. But what about like ghosts or anything like that? You ever seen anything like that? Or like a weird thing in the woods or anything like that?
Not really. I've had a few. Oh man, there was one recently that was like, that was fucked up. It was like it was just like oh man, what the fuck was it? God,
it's like I saw my dead grandma.
Something just like a door hinge was just like, and I was like, oh man, that's wild that just happened. I have no earthly explanation for that. It was something like that in a hotel room or some shit.
Bro, it happened to Alex in a hotel room on our last fucking show that we did.
Yeah, that was about a year ago almost. Yeah.
Wow, that was that long ago. God damn.
I don't know what any of that stuff is, like where like something like a doorknob shakes or anything like that. But it's really like, I feel like as far as like what paranormal experiences are that people describe a lot, like a lot of them are easily explainable as like something that you didn't see right or something that you didn't understand or something like that.
Yeah.
But the ones that are like what do you call them? Poltergeisty? Those ones are real. They feel weird. They feel real to me.
Well, where stuff just gets like fucked with.
Like you're in your kitchen and then like a fucking pantry door like opens, you're like,
oh yeah,
you know, like I don't know, that feels real to me.
I do. I remember. Well, first of all, I just want to be clear before I tell this story that even though that is my mindset on this stuff, I am by no means not a total wuss about it. Like I fuck it. Like
me neither.
If somebody's like, this room's haunted, I'm like, okay, I hate this room now.
Yeah, let's avoid that one. Yeah.
I'm never going in here. It's terrifying.
Bro, I run toward it for my own problems. Like, I'm like, where's the ghost? Show me the ghost.
No, yeah, I'm like the complete opposite. But there was I'm in a band, and we went to record at a studio called Sonic Ranch. And Sonic Ranch is like a live-in studio near El Paso in a town called Tornillo. And it's like right on the border. So there's like a non-zero amount of like cartel activity that happens around there.
Yeah.
But there's a room in that studio that's been dubbed the Blue Room because everything's blue in it. That, as far as I know, I don't think this is fabricated, but like one of the family members who owned that like farm that it's on was killed by the cartel in that room. And it's the most haunted room in that fucking house. And like the stories I've heard of that place are like literally people walking in on like somebody sleeping in bed and the bed's like floating off the ground, and like, you know, and from my own bandmates too. Like there was one guy who was producing on our album who was like, I walked into my room, I have the same routine every day. I come in, I lock the door, I throw all my clothes off, and I pass out on the bed, and then I wake up and I do the whole routine. And when I woke up that morning, my shoes were like laces tied, like right at the door, facing forward. And like I locked the door. It's not like anybody came in and like cleaned the room or anything. So
that's the type that's so messed up. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of stories, but I've never had a personal experience. I will say, when I walked into the Blue Room, I was like, no, thank you, not staying in this room. Fuck that. Like,
do you ever feel the vibes?
Yes, I'm huge on like energy, whether or not it's true.
Yeah,
you know, I feel a certain way about a thing, and I'm like, okay, that's the energy that this thing's given me. The Blue Room sucks. I hate it. Every time I walk into it, I'm like, nope, don't want to be in here. Don't like this.
Yeah. It's like the Palmdale of the rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that before or after you were told that it was a bad room?
So that's an interesting question. And it was before.
Ew. Okay.
Yes, we were being, because you get a choice of like what rooms you want to stay in. And the Blue Room is one of the nicer rooms. So we were walking through the rooms and looking at them like, oh, cool. And then we walked in the Blue Room and I was like, ooh, I don't like this room. And then they were like, funny story about that. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So yes, I did get that feeling before. But again, you know, my skeptic brain is like, I've heard stories about like the frequency that fear gets created at or whatever. And it's like, there's certain rooms that like orchestrate the bouncing around of that frequency or whatever, where I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to that. But you know, I don't believe that there is a ghost of a murdered man in there. At the same time, it's fun.
I always think, what it'd be like to be that ghost, never to be able to leave that one room, always there, angry, never able to murder again.
But like, is it, you know, if we're going to get on the ghost train, like, is it a ghost? Could it just be energy? Could it, like, that's why it opens up too much.
Knows.
I'm curious if they painted it if it was no longer blue, or they moved out the furniture and put a new furniture. Like haunted houses, refurbish that thing. Let's see what happens, right? Like, who knows what will go on?
Jesse has talked about his family's clown room that feels haunted, but is not haunted.
No. In my parents' old house in Kentucky, this house was built next to a Civil War battleground and near what was an Indian burial ground that was removed and then made into a cemetery. If there was ever going to be a haunted location,
that's it. Yeah,
it would have been there. And one of their bedrooms had this creepy yellow wallpaper with paintings that looked like they were from the 1800s, and it had a vibe. And I was like, if I was ever going to be haunted, this is the place. And nothing, ever. So that's where I'm at. Or I'm like, it should have been the spot.
Yeah.
The signs were there, but I got nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of spaces that I've been into where it's like an old Victorian house, you know, from the 1800s or whatever. And it's like, so many people have lived here. So many people have died here. And I'll spend a lot of time in those houses and just be like, I didn't feel a goddamn thing. It was fucking quiet. Yeah. It was like just a pleasant experience. Yeah. And there was nothing where I was like, what was that? Like, it was great. It's fine.
Yeah. This is how it be.
I think the creepy vibes is like just like really aged, mature, like fine, like wine, like liminal spaces that have like stood the test of time. I think is like what haunted houses are. I think they're just like off spots that people like go like, and then it just reverberates. That's how I feel. What's it called? The noosphere? That's where it is.
The noosphere? Is this like new age ghost stuff?
Noosphere is like, it's not new age ghost stuff. It's like new age pseudoscience regular stuff. We were talking about it and I don't know if it's pseudoscience. Like I'm not going to roast it.
That.
I think there's something a little bit real about it, but it's the idea of a
little bit real,
a little bit real about pseudoscience, real stuff,
like pseudo real,
pseudo real.
Look, real adjacent.
If you're interested in the Noosphere, check us out at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. Just kidding.
This man.
No, the Noosphere is like a instinctual, like energy field that we can access as living things, and maybe there's like a human one, for example, and it genetically stores, or like in a radio space or somewhere, some sort of idea of a sum of all of our species knowledge is somewhere, and you can access it somehow, and it plays into some UFO theories, it plays into some ghost theories, it plays into some actual science, and like rules. The guy who made it is not like a wizard or anything. He's like a regular guy. I think. I hope he didn't like.
Wait, made it? Wait, so it didn't exist before, and then some guy made it?
Thank you.
No, it's a theory. Hold on. All right, we're getting there. We're gonna get there.
Oh my God, we got a show to do.
I'm going into
Alex.
this. No, we're doing a Cuckoo Bird Noosphere episode.
No, we're not.
Right at the beginning.
Do you know the work I put into these goddamn episodes? We're doing the episode, Alex.
The Noosphere is nonsense.
It sounds like nonsense,
but it's fun nonsense in a fun way, because it's one of those things where it's like the Force.
It's postulated.
What if there was a way that we were all connected and we could like reach back into the past? We could connect with.
Sounds like somebody's first mushroom trip.
Verdonsky put it forth and made it popular. He's like it's more philosophical, but it's like a theory that there may be something that we can access as living things that contains the knowledge of what our species has learned instinctually.
Why not just like write a novel? Like, why make it a conspiracy theory? Like
I think it's real. I think he was being earnest.
Beyond the ice walls of Earth.
No, you do not. You don't need to introduce anyone to that. You've already done too much damage to general knowledge by doing 2 episodes on it.
I have not done any of that, and I am not at all about to do that today.
I think that's the inherent problem, is done too much damage. Everything we talk about on this show, everything, even the stuff we're going to talk about today, is somewhere there's someone that had a good concept for something, and rather than like, I don't know, add to the collective knowledge of mankind, they were like, I'm going to make my fanfic version where the aliens took me to space. And it's like, all right, well, you've set us all back tremendously, but thank you. That's the vibe of most of what we cover is some dude's like, she was beautiful, the alien. She became my bride. I put a wig on her, though. And it's like, what? Why do we need this? We didn't need this.
I'm just sitting there asking, why not me?
Yeah.
You know those aliens with the big eyes, the gray round heads, bald heads? Imagine one with tits.
Ooh, there we go.
I got you. I can help you with that, actually.
Ooh, hello.
Yeah.
That's a good play to camera joke for a podcast, man.
He does it a lot. It's the same joke.
Yeah, no one can see this right now, but it's fine.
That's the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe that.
Immediately bricked up. I'm good to go.
There's a sci-fi book on my reading list, and it's sometimes I'll go to like vintage bookstores and I'll just like pick up
all the time.
some like $1 book or something that looks like shit. And there's this one that I picked up that I gotta read, and I might bump it up because of this. It's called Ta. It is sort of known.
But it sounds familiar.
But the idea is that it's like an alien planet, and the plants are hot, and
oh yeah.
And so the cover is like a dandelion with huge titties.
Yes.
And
yes.
Fuck.
I gotta introduce you to the man who paints his alien encounters, and it's like gray aliens with titties who fuck him. It's phenomenal.
It's not phenomenal. No.
Phenomenal.
It's funny.
No. You're just living life at that point, man.
Yeah, exactly, brother. See, I'm with you. See,
top shelf erotica.
Thank you so much to today's sponsor, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes that are delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why they're America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you can make delicious food a priority this spring with quick, convenience recipes delivered right to your door. Just choose your meals and select the delivery date. HelloFresh handles all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, so all you have to do is open the box and get to cooking. Wake up your taste buds and get summer ready with a balanced, fit, and wholesome recipes as well. chock full of fresh produce and under 650 calories a serving. On average, HelloFresh meals also have a 31% lower carbon footprint than meals of the same portion size made from supermarket ingredients. HelloFresh's pre-measured ingredients and 100% offset of their delivery emissions mean you're able to get dinner on the table while being kinder to the planet. And when you sign up today, you'll unlock free dessert for life. Satisfy your sweet tooth with a decadent dessert of your choice in every HelloFresh box for free. You know me, I've been doing HelloFresh now for close to 2 straight years, never once taking a break, and I still literally do 3 meals a week from HelloFresh. So if something you want to check out, head to HelloFresh.com/chillsweet for free dessert for life. 1 dessert item per box while subscription is active. That's free dessert for life at HelloFresh.com/chillsweet. Thank you again to HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode. Top shelf erotica. All right, we're going to talk about the fucking episode today, gentlemen. And speaking of talking about tall whites, but not racist versions, today's episode is all about the tall whites.
Is that what they're called? Is that what people call them?
They're literally called the tall whites.
They are called the tall whites.
God. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
They're like the vest aliens. They're like the ones from like the 70s.
But these are not the tall whites that I've taught you about. These are different tall whites. Like I said, non-racist tall whites.
I'm pretty sure by the end of this is going to be racist. I'm letting you know. I'm pretty sure.
They don't just look like ABBA?
I promise you, no.
All right.
It's about the story about the tall whites and possibly the most boring man to ever have walked the face of this earth. A man by the name of James Charles Hall, who was the one and only person to ever directly talk to and encounter these tall white beings. Up top, I'm just going to go say reference my two main sources for today's episode. One of the most boring documentaries in the world, called Walking with the Tall Whites, followed by one of his 6 books, Millennial Hospitality, because after the first book, shit just gets impossibly weird to follow. So don't worry about it. You know, we
Millennial Hospitality and Walking with the Tall Whites. This dude needs to figure out his titles.
Can I be pedantic for a second?
Please do.
His name is Charles James Hall.
Oh my God!
You said James Charles Hall, which I googled and it immediately like filled in the blank and made me search for James Charles Halloween costume.
James Charles? Who the hell is that? Oh my God! James Charles Halloween. Oh no.
Yes. Sorry, Charles James Hall.
Yes.
My brain absolutely flipped those two. It sounds better the other way around, like phonetically, but that's probably why my brain did it. Anyway, he is arguably the most boring man that I've ever read about. The book he wrote is written in the most dry, painful way. And even the way he sounds, the documentary was only 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I hope you can hear this. I'm about to press a button. Hopefully it works.
Mathis, do you hate this guy?
No, yeah. But I wish he had gotten somebody to like help ghostwrite.
You just had a rough week reading, huh?
On Amazon, I went to go see when Walking with the Tall Whites came out. Because in my mind, the way we talk about people on this show, they made a documentary in 1974. This came out in 2020.
Yeah.
And what's even crazier about this is the image that shows on Walking with the Tall Whites. You'd think that the cover of this movie would be an alien face or some sort of like UFO. It straight up is a man's face, 1 fighter jet, and then Walking with the Tall Whites. I don't know what most people think of when they see this, but I don't think it's aliens.
Oh yeah. Oof. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, little like phantasms there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like living lines of cocaine.
But they're so small, you would not notice them. And again, big bold letters, Walking with the Tall Whites, and then it's a fighter jet.
This image that's showing up on Google image search, that's it's like a couple times. I think it's like a woman, tall white, and it's like a green eyes, and it's like kind of stretched looking. There's something like weirdly erotic about it. I don't know.
There's a lot of that out there, man.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is like the pre-green alien vibe of Aliens from like the 70s where everything just kind of looks like a Jared Hess movie. You know what I'm talking about? You know how DeviantArt kind of has a look, even though it's a bunch of different artists?
Yes.
And it's like, that's kind of how it is with alien art too. I don't know why it all kind of looks the same. Like how menu art, for some reason, every diner has the same artist somehow.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't know. There's something about alien art.
Right,
it is
true.
a little erotic.
So I'll send this link to the Dean so we can slide it into the episode. But you only need to listen to the first few seconds I link you to understand the sound of this man's voice and how it's so hard not to just fall the fuck asleep listening to him talk.
All right, press play.
Hold on, I gotta switch accounts.
Don't want people to know.
Yeah, I gotta hide this.
And the shrapnel killed him. He dropped instantly. And although I was in the tower above him, it had wooden sides and stuff, so it stopped, and a wooden floor, and it stopped the shrapnel. So it didn't blow off any wind. There's no concussion with the mortar shell, and none of the glass or anything was harmed.
Oh, is this guy right here?
Yes, that is the man. This is the man that the tall whites interacted with.
And so as I looked there, it looked like he was play acting. It looked like he was an actor, and he wasn't very good. Okay.
He sounds like how my grandmother used to speak, like Jimmy Carter.
It looked like he just crumpled. I thought he was play acting.
They kidnap these guys because they target them because they know nobody's going to believe this fucking guy.
Exactly.
It took me away.
Exactly. See, you're on the right wavelength here. So that's a picture of him. And basically, at the very beginning of the book, there's a foreword by his wife that basically she just is so mean to him. Because she basically explains in the foreword that, and I'll just read this for a little bit, a small quote. Over the last 18 years, from time to time, when I enter my room where my husband sat at the computer, I noticed that he would quickly shut the screen that he was working on. When I asked him what he was doing, sometimes he would answer nothing or just relaxing.
Oh my God, just relaxing.
Other times he would say that he was working on a book. In May of 2002, he became unemployed. After he was
kind of doing all of it.
After he was a month in unemployment, this scenario repeated itself. He said he was working on his book, and I said, quote, well, if you die tomorrow, there's no way I'm going to go hunting through that many files you have to look for whatever book you're writing. I suggest you print some of that out right now. I'd like to see it. That's what she said to her husband. And he said, which book did you want to see? And she said, what do you mean, which book? How many books do you have? And he said, a couple, 3. So naturally, when she says, when I saw some of the chapters, I was determined that we publish it. I felt it was excellent material and it should be picked up by one of the major houses, but I knew that it would take time.
One of the major houses. She goes, babe,
but I knew that it would.
Babe, this is good shit.
She goes, I knew it would take time, and since since no income was coming into our house, we decided to self-publish. The manuscript
no way.
No way. Right?
It's just easier.
The manuscript needed editing badly, partially because he had started the books on an old Tandy 2000, and there were technical difficulties in retrieving them. But the other major problem I had with the book was the macho language that he needed to use. My daughter.
Stop, dude.
Is this written by Maud Flanders?
This is literally the forward of the book. My daughter and I were up to the task of editing the material, and Charles was much in agreement when we told him that the story was so good, the swear words added nothing, and furthermore, deleting them would make the book appropriate for mid-school.
We were robbed. Society was robbed. The voiceover, this like, these fucking aliens, they came out of their goddamn ship, and there they were. Fucking around, tall white, giant bitches. That was amazing.
Reminiscent about the death of my friend.
Fucking Clinton's in the room. The last bit she goes is, well, Charles worked hard implementing all of our corrections, but then inadvertently used older unedited files to compile the CD to send to the publisher. I will leave out some of the drama that followed. It slowed things down considerably. And because we were so anxious to start marketing our books, I had ordered 500 copies of Millennial Hospitality before I saw one bound copy. We decided to re-edit immediately, and Charles sat for days and hand-edited some of the worst mistakes from the 500 copies we already had in our house. If you have one of those...
This is the foreword of this book?
Yes. If you have one of those copies, they have already become collector's items. That was then, and this is today. The day it is that you are beginning to read Millennial Hospitality.
The day that it is today that you are...
Is there a pretext here of like, oh, this is like an epic tale that like was in the making? Because it feels like self-reporting here, where it's like, so just so you know, this is the ramblings of a crazy man. I just want to make that clear up front. All right, read the book now.
It's his wife.
This guy's a piece of shit. He's crazy, and he couldn't get this shit published on his own. Also, the language is fucked up.
We were in debt.
Have a good
We
time.
needed money. He wouldn't get a fucking job. All he was doing was working on his Tandy 2000.
Honestly, I'm just surprised James Charles has a wife.
So she ends it by saying, we both hope you will enjoy reading. And if you've not already read Millennial Hospitality 2, The World We Knew, and Millennial Hospitality 3, The Road Home, we know that you will want to read them as well. There are 6
Millennial
books.
Hospitality
There are 6 books
could not be a worse title for a book to have.
It's bad.
Than a
It's
number and a subtitle.
It's called Millennial Hospitality.
Yes, it is. And it is 6.
Sounds like a
Boy,
textbook.
that's just staying over at my house, dude.
Mine
That's like
too.
Tostitos and Ranch. That's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, so there's 6 books all told, over 1,400 pages of text. No, I did not read all 6 books. I read just the fucking first one. So if you want more, just know there's a whole world out there after this. And this man is, like I said, other than being boring, it's his boringness that makes him uniquely qualified to be the individual that this all happened to.
He looks like if J.R.R. Tolkien was the snowman from the beginning of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
What?
It's been bugging me this whole time. I was trying to figure out who he looks like, and it's that.
Again, I can't tell if he's trying to be subversive in his work, because if you look up Millennial Hospitality, the book cover is the painted version of him next to what I assume is a cactus. And I couldn't tell you what this was about.
Don't worry, I had a hard time trying to piece it together too. But
Millennial Hospitality 1 and Millennial Hospitality 5 and Millennial Hospitality 3 all seem to have really similar book covers.
Self-published.
Well,
man.
what you're not getting is this subtext. There's a whole lot of negative space above him,
right?
Which is to imply that there's something out there.
See,
Slightly
Oh, damn.
Bro.
Slightly
Touche.
different Microsoft Word art for each title. Different, like, stretch, flat.
Let's dive into this man's life, his experiences with the Tall Whites, what they are all about, and what he was actually doing with them. And we'll, as always, kind of just start with a very quick profile of who this man was. Who Charles James Hall, I'll just be referring to as Charles from now on, was born in rural Wisconsin and was a curious and adventurous child. He always eager to explore the world around him. He was very just kind of inquisitive. He grew up in a loving family, surrounded by a lot of nature. His father was a World War II veteran, instilling in him a kind of a strong sense of duty and honor to the country. His mother was a devout Christian and taught him the values of compassion and empathy. And these early influences would later guide him through the challenges and wonders that he would face, both in real life as he would join the Air Force and as he took on this Tall White years-long event. As a teenager, Charles developed kind of a keen interest in science, particularly astronomy. He spent countless nights gazing at stars, fascinated by the vastness and mystery of the universe, and read a bunch of books about just space exploration, dreamed of becoming an astronaut, and really just wanted to discover the secrets of the universe. For some reason, I thought I saw a hand raised, but I think it was just the delay in my camera. I was like, who's raising their hand? After graduating from high school, Charles enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, and he hoped to serve his country and maybe get a chance to fly out into space. But his dreams were dashed when he was assigned to Nellis Air Force Base as a weather observer. Disappointed but determined, Charles embraced his duty and performed his tasks with diligence and dedication. His life at Nellis was routine, uneventful, and it's not that it wasn't without its challenges. It was a harsh desert environment for one. There's a lot of isolation, constant threat of danger just from military exercises to test his resiliency and adaptability in the moment. But Charles seemed to take it with stride and learn to survive and thrive in this kind of unforgiving new environment of his. Charles Hall's time at Nellis Air Force Base was not entirely uneventful before his encounter with the Tall Whites. In fact, there were a couple incidents that kind of, I wouldn't say foreshadowed his extraordinary experiences, but kind of are interesting in that they kind of frame Charles as a hero. Something that we're going to see throughout the rest of the story, where Charles always seems to be the guy that they just needed in the right moment, and he was there and he could help. The two incidents at Nellis Air Force Base that are mentioned within the first book, the first one being involving 6 aircraft that were stuck out in the desert, circling an area for 30 minutes, running out of fuel. And one evening, Charles received a call from the control tower informing him of these 6 aircraft that were trying to return to base, but were unable to land due to a sudden dust storm. Visibility was near zero, and the pilots were running low on fuel. And so Charles, with his knowledge of weather patterns and his quick thinking, devised a plan to guide the aircraft safely to the ground. He used his weather instruments to track the storm's movement and relayed the information to the pilots. He then directed them to a specific location where the dust was less dense and enabled them to land safely. Basically, Charles knew the wind real good, and that was what they needed to have him land these planes. Don't shake your head.
Is any of this corroborated? Or is this all from his book?
What more do you need than the words?
What a great, honest question that we will never get an answer to.
We can corroborate that, yes, he was part of the Air Force, and he was in the Vietnam War. This particular incident, why would he lie?
Like, is there anybody in his life other than his wife who's like, you know what, this guy's trustworthy. I believe him. Like, is there anybody?
I mean, they not into to the degree where they're willing to say the events that follow might be wholly truthful.
Is there anyone who is not financially invested in his success?
What does that mean?
I need you all to just open up your third eye, my bro. You need to open up your third eye and just put on your believing pants for today, Jesse, just for me, please.
Because that's the stuff that is exciting to hear when somebody's like, it's like, this guy's so awesome. And like, he's always been, and then this happened and whoa, so like, I don't know. I don't believe in aliens, but like, I like him, that's the stuff where I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But this all seems like like Mary Sue fan fiction.
Yeah, which is fact.
That's most of it. That's most of it.
You even the stuff that we've covered, that's like the most believable, has corroborating witnesses. I think of what would you say is the most believable story that we've covered on the show
about aliens?
Yes, about aliens.
I was going to say JFK's assassination, very believable.
Yes, excellent. That was done because of the aliens.
I don't know.
Betty and Barney Hill's probably
it's pretty good.
The most famous for sure.
I don't know if it's because like everything about it, everything from the way they describe the aliens to the way that people talk about them as a couple to the way that they reacted. Like the whole thing has a vibe to it that's like, out of all the stories, it's the most believable. Do I accept it completely? Not really, but it's the best one by far.
Even like today, initially the plan is to do Travis Walton. We're going to do that next week. But even his story, all the people that were involved, some of them later came out and said the whole thing was a hoax. So like even those types of stories are filled with reasons to kind of like put to the side. Betty and Barney Hill is one of the more tighter cases.
I like the one where the guy's pants get ripped by the alien that rips his pants off.
That. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The man's pants was ripped off.
There's like tire tracks and shit, and he's like, it like ripped my pants off, and it like hit me with a flamethrower for like 1 second, and then I passed out.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit!
What a Thursday!
And
dude.
yes, Charles was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base as well. Like he was there at the times he's saying he was there doing the job he supposedly was supposed to be doing there, but because everything's so secretive and whatnot, you can't corroborate if any of the alien stuff that happened actually happened to him. But he's not lying about where he was, the rank he was, and being part of the military and all that. That was real.
I always wonder how they justify like being the only one telling about it.
Like, what's I think going to be interesting is that all the ones that we've covered that are insane, like Project Serpo, like last week's, this is the one where I'm like, if he's making it up, he could have done such a better job. Like there's like, it's not like, it's kind of almost sad. Like the story is kind of almost like I pity the man.
You can't use someone's inability to tell a good story to be like, it could be true because he was so bad at telling it.
I can't, but I just did. And we're just going to,
The biggest problem with this is for some reason we also give a lot of credibility to this dude was in the military and already he's above everyone else. I'm like, that doesn't mean that this story's true.
Agreed.
That would be like, he was a teacher for 25 years.
Right.
Never had any problems. And he saw an alien, so he's credible. Like, you can say that for anything.
What's more, I'd say valuable, if you want to put value on this, of this, is like a lot of what we know of the various quote unquote alien races in the lore all are rooted somewhere. And like, this version of the tall whites is the first time these kinds of like versions show up. And you're going to see the similarities between a little bit of similarities to the Nordics, but also the tall whites that look like grays, but like command the grays that we kind of briefly touched on years ago.
Oh, wait, is this why so when we went through, Aaron, we did like a whole video episode or whatever thing one time where it's like every single alien race that exists that we know of.
Yeah.
And at some point, there's rehashes. It's like, okay, so there's the tall whites. They look like angels, like Nordic. But then there's also the tall whites, and they look like a little different.
Correct.
And there's so many different versions. So this is where
the other tall whites come from. This is the origin of those.
Okay.
The less racist tall whites. There's like the Hitler tall whites, and then there's the alienish tall whites. And we're talking.
Well, this is like, but these tall whites control the grays.
Well, that's one of the theories of people who say they've been abducted have seen them with the grays. So there's some theories.
This
there.
is like regional.
Right? No, the tall whites control the grays. Yeah, no,
of course, obviously, you're following, right, Aaron?
It's all true. What if it's all like every single one's real?
Bro, imagine,
and they're just chuckling at us from afar.
Bro, the reptilians and the tall whites just sharing a piece of like blueberry pie.
Human jerky?
Human jerky?
That they got on the way to Alien Vegas?
That's right. Dude, hold on to the Vegas thought. Just hold on to the Vegas thought.
What do you mean?
What does that mean?
Just hang on to that thought. Just hold on to that thought. This is going to be, I'm telling you, the story's great. So yeah, he first one involving like landing these aircraft. His knowledge of the wind essentially helped him land the other ones. Then there was a second incident that happened while he was there, which was a little bit more personal and somewhat embarrassing. Charles was invited to a social gathering at the officers' club one evening, where he found himself in the pleasant company of his superiors and their spouses. And he was feeling a little awkward, anxious, out of place, uncomfortable as he tried to just kind of blend into the background. But his awkwardness did not go unnoticed, and one of the wives of the superiors, a woman known for outgoing personality and love of dancing, approached Charles and asked him to dance. And despite his initial reluctance, Charles eventually agreed, and they took to the dance floor. To his surprise, he found himself enjoying dancing, and he and his partner twirled and swayed to the music. They were laughing, having such a good time. This unexpected kind of turn of events boosted his confidence and helped him feel more at ease in the social situations. But what he didn't realize is that the officer was a jealous husband and didn't want anyone dancing with his wife, but he wasn't anywhere nearby. And that's why she approached him and decided to dance. Don't shake your head like that in disbelief, Jesse. This is very real. You've seen the man. He's handsome.
If anything, this is the one thing I believe. A jealous husband? That sounds right.
The next morning, he got a call to come into the office and speak with the officers, who's the husband of the wife. And he fully expected he's about to get his ass completely reamed out. He's about to get punished and yelled at. But instead of him getting yelled at, he expressed gratitude towards Charles. And he explained that his wife had been feeling lonely lately and isolated due to his frequent absences because of work. And he thanked Charles for being kind to her and for bringing a moment of joy into her life through their dance last night. And she was very happy when she got home.
Are we talking about Archie right now? What is happening?
These are the two incidents he puts in his book as the weird incidents that happened before the tall whites came into play. So just to let you know, the kind of life this man was living. There's more to this. That's it. No,
is he telling a story about how he cucked his
I think that's what's happening. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, fuck her next time.
And the husband was like, thank you so much for cucking me last night. She needed it. I needed it.
But what does that have to do? What's the A to B to C to tall whites?
Listen,
here?
I can't tell you what the A, B to C is there, but he made me learn that.
He just included the story?
He put that in the book for me to learn. Now you have learned it and your brains forgot something useful so that you could remember what I just told you.
Is this supposed to be like, this is how he learned to ingratiate himself with people and how he, he's like, once I learned from this family, I felt like I could bang anyone's
I would say the first story of his knowledge of weather patterns is what got him the gig in that area in the first place. The second thing was, I guess, he's just a really approachable guy that anybody's willing to approach. So it's really valuable.
Aliens, even.
But you literally you say it like that, but you're correct in that tone. Even
I'm aware. Oh no, I wasn't joking. This is what I assume is the plot. Yeah. Okay.
All through his time in the military, though, in his free time, he still pursued his passions that he enjoyed as a kid, reading scientific journals, attending lectures, even built himself small telescopes to observe the night sky. It's just, he was always kind of interested in space.
Is that truly what this part of the story is for? Is he actually justifying why he was abducted? He's like, listen, I'm not just any guy, dude. They took me because I'm the best.
I'm a fuck master, bro.
You would think, but wait till we keep talking, because the way he paints himself is not the most heroic picture at all. So yeah, he's out there doing his thing now. He lives out there kind of working on that base at Nellis Air Force Base. And his life and the journey he was about to take, he was fully unprepared for. Now, before we move into his first encounter with the tall whites, I need to quickly educate you about one of the base's biggest legends.
First encounter.
Yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
First of 14, baby.
Oh,
Settle in.
just you wait. The first thing I can teach you about is a legend that was on the base known as Range 4 Harry.
Huh?
Legend of Range 4 Harry was well known around Nellis Air Force Base long before Charles showed
Will
up.
you just say that one more time?
Yep. Range 4 Harry. The number 4. F-O-U-R. Range 4. Like, he belongs on Range 4.
Harry from Range 4. Got
Harry
it.
from Range 4, but they call him Range 4
Range number
Harry.
4. Range number 4.
Range 4
Got
Harry.
it.
But not a range 4
Correct,
Harry.
correct.
No.
Harry who lives
That's
on...
how I heard it too. Like a charity event they do every
Range
year.
4 Harry. This one? This is for Harry.
No, like Harry who lives on Range number 4.
Gotcha.
This is like a super well-known like tale around the base. It was a legend whispered among the airmen, a story of a mysterious and elusive creature that roamed the vast expanse of the Nevada desert. I'll let the book describe the legend. Quote, Range 4 Harry is supposedly a horse that got too close to an atomic bomb blast that was set off way up at Frenchman Flats back in 1954. It was right after the blast that people started seeing him. He's been down here out on Range 4 ever since. The radiation burned him real bad, so usually he hides up in the mountains. But on warm summer nights, he comes down into the valley and roams the number 4 range up at Mojave Wells. One side of him glows a soft fluorescent white. No one knows what the other side of him looks like. Everyone who is...
He never turned. Everybody was just on the one side.
He's always exiting stage left.
Yeah.
Just never any other way.
It's like a living moon.
Everyone who has tried to walk around him and look at him from the other side has
died.
Has gotten burned pretty bad or attacked.
What do you...
Wait, really? What? Oh, that's the excuse?
Correct.
You can't see his other side because they'll burn you.
And they'll attack you.
This is like a Fallout character. What the hell is this thing?
Either way, they've all come back scared stiff. If you see him, don't ever try to walk up in front of him and look him in the face. Harry doesn't want anyone to see his face. The few people who have seen him from the front say his face is a human-like, but very unusual. Very unusual. He is said to have large blue eyes, and his head is real large. They say his face looks sort of like the face of a horse, and his tail is made of long blonde hair.
Whoa. So this...
Like a horse?
Potentially...
Is a horse?
Is some sort of horse-human hybrid?
Yeah, something like that.
There was a rider and it nuclear fused the human into the horse?
Or like Persona 5 fusion of like personas.
Are you
Awesome.
kidding? That's amazing.
It's fucking sick.
Range 4 Harry kicks ass.
He's a fucking... I love it.
Range 4, dude.
And Charles initially laughed at the idea, but nobody else on base did. They all took it very seriously. It seemed like everyone was terrified of Range 4 Harry, among other things that were happening on base. The man he was sent up there to replace, a man by the name of Sullivan, even explicitly warned Charles never, ever to go out on ranges 3 and 4, and then to just make up the winds you're supposed to record in the weather for those areas because nobody fucking checks anyway, and only ever stay on range 1. Range 1 is the only safe place to be. That was like, and this is the man Charles came up to replace. Sullivan did what he was about to do for 4 years.
I'm so pissed off there's no fan art of Range 4 Harry.
Also,
He seems
for safety reasons, Charles never uses a last name and changed the first name. So we're only getting first names that are completely changed from the actual person's name that actually was on the base.
Range 4 Harry has a last name?
No. Talk about Sullivan. Like Sullivan.
It's actually Range 4 Larry, dude. Sorry.
Bro,
His name is Range 4 Larry, you motherfucker.
this is Range 3 Larry and Range 4 Harry, and they have territorial disputes every so often.
Harry-torial.
Wait, so
Territorial.
this is also, not only is this a book where he talks about the time I slept with my boss's wife,
Which
but
is
also
badass.
He did not sleep with his boss's wife. He only danced.
Sure,
danced.
danced.
Yeah.
But also it's government and military negligence. There's like, do not do your job.
He's peeling back the
don't
curtain,
go
bro.
stay on range 1. Don't go all the way out to 4, and don't record any information.
You know what that sounds like? Is like the environmental storytelling of a horror video game. They're like, yeah, stay at range 1, but watch out for range 4. We've had some reports
Never
of
go out to range 4.
Yeah.
And if you
It's
do,
the note you find in the first chapter.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you do, but don't. But if you do, but definitely don't take this flashlight with you. It's the only thing bright enough to
hold this camera and this lighter. We're sending you out to go investigate what's going on. Yeah.
Also, by the way, this is a great argument again for like, why didn't you just write I would read the Range 4 Harry book.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Get a sick comic artist. I'll watch. Like, he sounds sick.
Yeah.
And if everybody ever wants to, like, if he wants to fight crime, he can just turn.
You just did the Porky Big Ibba like so perfect. Oh, fucking caught me off guard.
I haven't been this hype about something in a long time. All right.
I'm glad you're loving the story of Range 4 Harry.
Now we got to listen to the rest of this stupid story. We need Range 4 Harry.
Dude,
does he have a big M16?
Yeah. So Charles quickly learned that no actual work was actually done on those ranges. At least not the work that he was sent out to do, like the weather measuring and to like jot it down and shit. No actual weather balloons were being sent out. They were just left on the ground. Wind recordings were seemingly random as airmen were just too terrified to go out into the range. Charles was confused as to why he was even sent out here in the first place if everybody was just going to tell him not to do it.
This is his explanation for why it definitely wasn't weather balloons. Is that what?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Dude, nobody was doing their jobs. The weather balloons that were on site were deflated and busted, so it couldn't have been them.
Little did Charles know his very first encounter with the tall whites was about to be actually had. One night, while Charles was out kind of patrolling the ranges in his truck, out on his duties, he caught the glimpse of something that seemed to be peeking out from behind a nearby sagebrush. He stopped the truck, flashed a flashlight over, and what he saw, as soon as he saw whatever it was a little girl who took off running the minute the flashlight was leveled at her.
Oh.
What, you look confused, Jesse? Got a problem?
No, I mean, I'm just curious why little girl's there. I'm waiting for the answer. I'm excited.
Yep. Curious,
is
but
it
calm.
a tall little girl?
Yes. Oh, I like the way you think, Aaron. Your mind's in the right place.
You had to pick one color to describe the little girl.
I might go with white. So calm and collected. He went back he threw his truck in drive and followed the little girl in his truck that popped out from the nearby sagebrush. What he saw as he eventually cornered her into a thicker sagebrush area, when she stopped moving, what he saw was approximately 3 feet tall, white skin, but not white as in like us, like pale white.
How many feet?
3 feet tall.
Not tall.
Not tall.
It's not that tall
Yet. All right. Their skin was
a grower, not a shower.
Damn right, she's a grower, not a shower. Nothing wrong with that. Not white like our skin, but more white like chalk or porcelain.
like paper. Yeah.
Yeah. More like an actual like pitch
Like
white.
actual.
I don't know if you've seen me lately, but I'm getting a whole lot of sun.
That's the same
You
thing.
can see my butt cheeks. Yeah.
But while she did look somewhat human, she was distinctly not human. For one, he described her as much too thin to be any ordinary human girl. Her eyes were also much larger than any humans, and instead of being front-facing, they were more on the sides of her head, like a deer or a goat would have them.
Cool.
Don't look like Jesse. Like
I'm trying to imagine it. Look, my faces are faces of brain activity. Let me have this.
It's an audio medium. It's audio medium. Moreover, her fingers were elongated and ended in very sharp claws. Realizing that whatever this was clearly wasn't human, he began to slowly and calmly back his truck up to leave. But as he did so, in the distance somewhere behind him, he heard a loud screeching sound that panicked him to the point where he just slammed the foot down on the pedal and he took off. The whole drive back, however, he continued to feel as though he was being watched. So when he finally turned around mid-drive, he saw another white creature, but double the size of that 3 foot tall little girl. And he then just like went over 100 miles, like literally just went
this is like
from
when you
60 to
find a
100.
baby bear and then you realize you're in big danger.
Mama bear's around. Yes. That's you kind of that feeling. So as he floored it back to the weather station, and after getting back to safety, he tried to logic himself out of what he just saw, rationalizing, he said, to say, it must have been some sort of undiscovered genus of seagull that he just saw.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
That was my first thought, too.
Right. And yeah, that's what I thought, too.
Yeah, maybe it was the biggest fucking bird that's ever walked this earth.
Yeah, that's what he told himself. He told himself it was just an undiscovered like species of seagull for sure. For sure, that's what I saw at 6 feet tall and 3 feet tall. Whatever, hey man, whatever. It helped him sleep that night, I imagine. But before he got back to the base completely, Charles goes on to say that he felt what he described as a presence thanking him for finding a lost child. This caught Charles entirely off guard, freaked him out so badly that he had to pull the truck over, throw it in park, get out, and bend over to vomit.
Oh man, poor guy.
Okay, wait. How much detail does it go into about this? What communication he got?
About that much. Like he said it was a feeling. It wasn't like a word or an image. It was more of like a feeling for finding a lost child.
Somebody was like, thank you.
You are just a little weird giggle that precedes and ends every communication.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that's what he just said, and it made him so nervous. He got out of his truck, and he puked, which marks a sort of character quirk we'll notice from Charles from now on. He vomits a lot, puking from being scared, puking from being tired, hurt, even puking at some points just from how excited he got. Like the man pukes
good for him, man.
a lot. Like good for him for bearing that out. Charles writes and apparently just kind of pukes all the damn time that eventually he would make it back to the base where he thought he would just go back to the dorm and lay down. He walked in to smell a meal of an enormous serving of bacon, a thermos filled with coffee, eggs and toast cooked just the way he liked them, all made up by the base chef, a man by the name of Smokey. And through Smokey, as came back and Smokey had cooked up a meal, like really talking like late, like 3 a.m., like 2 a.m., somewhere around there. And through Smokey, he learned that the general of the base had somehow already known about what had just transpired to him out on the range with the little girl alien and said he'll never have to worry about, quote unquote, anything white out on the ranges anymore. This came from the chef.
Yeah. Aside from like the context of those words just being like, you could just phrase that in a better way. Like you're telling me that what happened here was that the general went to Smokey, the base chef, and said, you better make this guy a delicious breakfast in the middle of the night because I'll tell you what, he went out there and he saw an alien in the middle of the field, Smokey. Smokey, I want you to know that he saw an alien, a little girl alien, and when he gets this big-ass breakfast that you're going to make for him in the middle of the night, I want you to tell him that he doesn't have to worry about anything white on that range ever again.
And I literally, the next line in my script is, now you might be asking, why did the general use the chef and how did he know?
Yes.
I tell you, Smokey was a little alien. And then when he was driving away, he saw a bigger alien. It was twice the size, Smokey, I swear.
It was a big seagull of an alien. Smokey, you're cool, man. I like you, Smokey.
So unfortunately, the book's not like super clear on like how the chain of communication there works. The way I think it works is that the tall whites contact the general and let him know that Charles did like a good job or like whatever. And then for whatever reason, he then, instead of contacting Charles himself, then contacts Smokey, who, like you said, then tells him to make a breakfast instead of, I don't know, giving him like a panel, I don't know, a reward.
I just got a feeling, Smokey, that this guy needed breakfast.
Yeah.
It's the same vibe as like when you do good at work and your boss gets you a pizza party.
A gift card for $5
It's
to
like,
Starbucks?
yeah, it's like
It
elementary
makes it
school.
more believable in a way, doesn't it? In a weird way.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not like,
The food, the idea of it being food is fucking weird.
yeah, and the fact that it comes through the chef is also kind of really fucking weird. And yeah, so like, why does it go through that chain? Doesn't really fucking get answered.
Has anyone talked to Smokey about this?
Not to my knowledge, no. I think Smokey.
Has anybody confirmed Smokey is real?
You know, remember his name was changed.
Smokey sounds a lot like Corn Pop. I'm just
I
saying.
bet you the name was changed. So I wonder what his real name was. Okay, I don't know. We don't know.
Misty.
So I think this is a great time now to break down the tall whites as a species, from their biological life cycle to a little bit about where they come from after kind of getting a nice glimpse of them there. So tall whites, first and foremost, they're a species of alien that lives 10 times longer than humans do, averaging around.
How do we know that?
What? I have.
Good question.
That will be answered. That will be
Okay,
answered.
cool.
We know. So yeah, the average around
In the Book of Seagulls, Book 4.
They dropped their little Brian Froud-esque dissection book.
Let me just say,
of like, did you know?
It's you got a feeling.
there's
of
a
that
tall white, only known as the teacher, that we'll meet in a little while. Don't you worry.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, they average around 800 years in age. And when we say tall white, like I said, we're not talking about human kind of white. We're talking chalky white, porcelain white. And they supposedly also glow very gently under low light for one reason or another.
Mr. Burns.
Their brains work 7 times faster than the human mind. Their home planet is
Such a made up type
Not
of fact.
6, not 8, 7.
very specific.
It's like being like, my car is 4 times cooler than the average car.
Their home planet is slightly hotter than Earth, which is why they ended up living in the Mojave Desert, something that's a lot closer to their home planet.
They're like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
And-
fucking freezing out there at night. What are they talking
well,
about?
remember, with this Nellis Air Force Base, in alien lore, there's a total underground base where a bunch of aliens like live and work with the government, and these tall whites have like presence there. They live there. So like, I imagine when it gets really cold, they go underground, wherever they live.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. That's the exact kind of person, like the kind of mood you should have right now. And apparently, when it comes to the Mojave Desert, the U.S. government actually gave them a piece of the desert, like legally, like signed it over to them.
the aliens?
Yeah, to the tall whites. Yeah.
Why do they need to own
Good
anything?
question.
They're not even.
Good question.
Do they pay
Because
taxes?
He mentions and brings up in the book a question arises. Why? Because as far as Charles Hall knows, and as far as he tells us, tall whites don't enter or take things freely or make deals with anybody unless they are benefiting greatly on the other end. All right. So what did they get, and what are they allowed to do? And
No.
what did we do
No.
give them?
James Charles doesn't even understand. I mean, Charles James doesn't even understand. God damn it.
Don't God damn it me. He get good questions.
He doesn't even understand. No, what I'm saying is he doesn't like the fact that he's like, I don't know why they own it. They must own it for some reason. I'm just picturing the fucking paperwork on this. Like, what are we talking about? Who bought it? The seagull?
Yeah. Yes. I guess the
Came
What
to
do
the.
they pay? What do they
Good
pay with?
question.
Came to- yeah, like-
I imagine technology. We get a piece of their tech. We are also,
Even then, you can't write.
so
You can't buy land with
I don't
tech.
put this in the episode, but like they're also, according to the book, the tall whites kind of use us as like the planet Earth as like a stopover planet where they repair their ships because they
Like a rest
like
stop.
a rest stop. Very much. They don't really like love the human race very much. They kind of just deal with us. They don't really trust us very much.
That's how I feel about
Yeah,
him, too.
fair. So there's not like a great relationship between us and the tall whites, according to an ex-Air Force man.
But they don't. But again,
Just this one man.
they don't
Yes.
like us. They have
They tolerate
all the
us.
technology in the world. Why do they need us?
Because Earth is out in the boonies and there's not a lot out here. So like we're one of the few places they can stop, repair, refuel, and then they can leave. Earth is not really in
But what-
the galactic
okay,
core,
but if-
man.
All right, but this begs the question again.
got
This is imagine, just Mathis, imagine for a minute.
I want to know.
You're out in the boonies.
I'm out in the boonies.
You're out. Let's say you're in the middle of like
I lived in the boonies for a long time. I got you.
the middle of America. You're in a small town. Where are you going?
What do you mean?
I'm asking the question, if you're an alien and you're out here in the boonies, air quotes,
This is the military Air Force Base. That's where they go. That's where they live.
where?
Oh, like Sagittarius? I don't know. Sagittarius? Alpha Centauri?
Alpha
Zeta
Centauri,
Reticuli?
bro.
Come on.
No, but I'm saying like what I'm asking is it doesn't make sense. Their path of travel. Why even stop here?
Listen,
Maybe we're
I
in
don't know.
between two awesome spots, bro.
that could be it right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
You don't
go
know
back,
how
going
their
back to
science
Vegas.
works.
Maybe the Mad Greek is here. Maybe there's some.
We're the
flavored-
Mad Greek of space,
Yeah, maybe there's
dude.
like
Greek.
some
What is that?
flavored pistachios. It's like what's the name of that town? Oh God,
We're
I'm
the
sorry if you're
Death
from-
Valley of.
Yeah,
is what you're
yeah,
saying.
like
Yeah.
where you
Are we
go-
that
Prim.
town that's like right across the
Yeah,
border from
Prim.
California?
Yes.
That is like the last stop for weed.
Yeah, like
and it has like
Baker.
alien jerky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly
I
right.
think that's what Earth is like, and that makes sense to me.
It's got a fudge factory.
It's my favorite part of Earth already, so it makes sense that it's like the spirit of Earth encapsulated.
But I also love that, like, if it's a stopover planet, you'd think it'd be like convenient, but it seems horribly convenient to like be so secretive about stopping off here.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, okay, just don't like fly over Australia or anything. Like that'll be fucked up. Like just come at it from this very specific angle and like turn off the sound and like make sure, you only land in this spot. And like, cause people will see you and it'll be fucked up and you'll mess up the whole planet.
You're like, God, this is a lot of paperwork for a fucking backwater planet. Thank you to Ghostbed for sponsoring today's episode. And with Ghostbed, you're getting high quality and super comfortable award-winning mattresses, pillows, and so on, crafted in the United States and Canada. Did you know that 60% of US adults report being too hot when they're asleep? I sweat like a pig, by the way. That's why they design all their products with cooling features so you stay comfortable and asleep all night long. And I have now had my Ghost pillow, has it been almost a year now? Oh, it might be. Something close to that, and I've never switched it. There's just no reason to. It is the coolest pillow I have ever slept on, and just having my cheek on it all night long, it doesn't ever get too hot, I've never had a pillow like this. Moreover, Ghostbed is a family-owned business with sleep experts with 20-plus years of experience. They have over 60,000 five-star reviews. They have patented cooling technology exclusive to Ghostbed mattresses for comfort and support that you can't find anywhere else. And like I said, everything is handcrafted and made in the USA and Canada. And if that doesn't sound like, enough, they also have a 101-night at-home sleep trial on all their mattresses and pillows, plus a 20-plus year warranty, which is 2 times the industry standard. Free shipping and returns on mattresses. Most products also ship within 24 hours. With 5 different types of mattresses, all designed to help you sleep deeper, longer, cooler, and more comfortably, Ghostbed Luxe, the coolest bed in the world, is the most popular and features their signature Ghost Ice Tech cooling technology, which is a sick name, with 7 layers of comfort and a balanced medium feel. Choosing a mattress is personal, but it doesn't need to be stressful. Take their founder Mark's mattress quiz, answer a few questions about your sleeping style and preferences, and get your personalized mattresses recommended right now. So head over right now to ghostbed.com/chill to get 50% off site-wide. That's ghostbed.com/chill. Thank you again to Ghostbed for sponsoring the episode. So you might be wondering, what's the average height of these species if we continue down? What these species look like? 6 to 7 feet tall. But
I was going to say, I'm guessing pretty tall.
They've gotten as tall as, they can get as tall as around 9 feet or so. And they go through 3 very specific growing cycles. Baby to adolescent. And this is when a tall white is at their most dangerous. From baby to adolescent.
I thought you were going to say fertile, dude.
Most white.
What? Did I say?
I thought you were going to say most white.
He said fertile.
They're most dangerous, bro. No.
They're most succulent.
So the tall whites really get you most excited. I'll tell you that much. Takes a drag of a cigarette. I met the tall wife's general, and his tall white wife came over.
He said it was cool if you fucked my wife.
In fact, I'd always wanted to be cucked by a human. No, the tall whites are, as a species, relatively reactionary and I would call it paranoid, defensive. And at their youngest age, they are extremely reactionary, on top of being impulsive and very wildly dangerous because they have those sharp claws.
You know what's crazy that you say that? When you described the short white, the little girl, I thought of, my first thought was the little witch from Left 4 Dead.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is such a good idea.
Where she got like the claws and then it's like, and then you're
claws?
saying like they're defensive and they're kind of like, it's like, oh man, that's exactly what I see in my head.
It was soft disclosure, bro. Left 4 Dead was soft disclosure. I'm going to go
It came
for
out after Left 4 Dead, didn't it?
Yeah, Gabe knows. Gabe knows if aliens are real.
Wait,
or not.
so is the assumption here that when he was out in the desert and he saw this
Yes.
little girl,
He was so.
that the little girl was violent?
She could have been, yes.
And
yes.
that it could have ended badly
Yes.
for him.
He was in his truck, so he was safe. That's why he never really got out of his truck. But yeah.
They have 5 fingers.
Yeah. Yes, they have 5.
What do you suppose the evolutionary advantages of having 5 long fingers with claws?
I imagine defense.
That's also something I was thinking of, where it's like, okay, if they're violent or defensive or whatever, like the side facing eyes is like a evolutionary, like not. It's like a prey thing.
It's a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't help
But
them
that's
at
the
all.
thing. They're a prey-like species. You'll learn that they're very reactionary because they're so fragile. We'll get they are a defensive.
Oh, the children have to have the
Yes,
defenses.
correct.
Because they are hunted.
Yes, correct. You are figuring whatever was on their planet. I don't fucking know.
Dude, They're being hunted by Range 4 Harry, man.
Fuck!
Yeah, motherfucker!
Range 4 Harry just became a fucking badass movie that we need to fucking make.
Dude.
Of this alien bounty hunter chasing these tall whites.
I'm obsessed with Range 4 Harry, dude. I think
Give him a
he's
fucking
sick as
headband.
fuck. How is he like a footnote in this story? He is way cooler than anything else happening.
He comes back. He's gonna come back. Don't worry.
Oh, awesome.
Don't worry. I told you the story's fucking great.
How does that?
The kids are extremely reactionary, impulsive, very dangerous. Not until they go into their second adult growing phase where they kind of come their wizened adult phase, which is another reason Charles is so good at this job, is because he's so uniquely fucking boring that the child tall whites aren't prone to feel like he's a threat at any time. I'm dead serious.
He's like, stay calm.
Like, I'm dead ass
Stay
serious.
calm now, child.
Like, it fits, man. Yeah, exactly like that, Alex. You got it. What was that impression of?
That's him, dude.
Oh,
I
that's him.
only listened to him for about 2
I just
seconds.
can't.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think how any of this. I guess the question is, how long is their childhood cycle? Like, how long are they children?
About 200 years. About 200 or 300 years.
Shut up.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
All right, so they need to survive
Yes,
for
they
200
have to live a long
years
time.
before they can become wise. So their claws go away? Do they, like, what happens?
No, they always maintain their claws because they've always been a fragile species on their planet. Even as adults, they're fragile, but they, when they're out of adulthood and they've, fully grown up, they're not like impulsive kids anymore. They're more wizened and able to think before acting.
Do they use technology to battle the things that fought them?
I imagine at some point they did because they dominate their planet now. So
Then when did the war with the monsters that hunted them end, that they still genetically have?
we have
like,
to make
would
that movie to find out because I don't know. There is you mentioned a war that he never mentioned. How did you know about the war?
You said they dominated the planet.
Yeah, well, because they're like millions of years ahead of us in terms of technology. They are literally the alpha species on their planet. I don't know how it happened.
Well, you would think over 1 million years they would evolve into having
That's not something he asked about. I don't know what to tell you.
I think they're lying to us, dude. I think the tall whites are
might be.
liars.
So when the tall whites are making love,
Yeah.
do they
They
do they like
that back
have their hands
so-
up in the air like they're on a roller coaster or something? Like,
I imagine they
just trying
interlock.
not to.
They interlock their hands together like insects hooking into each
That's
other.
beautiful.
It is. It's all about true love. So they can grow 6 to 7 feet tall. Some going as large as 9. And through their life cycle, they go through 3 total. This one, they typically have to actually leave planet Earth to go back to their planet because the gravity on Earth it doesn't help them grow to the 6 to 7 feet tall they would normally be. It's too much. The gravity on Earth is too heavy for them. In fact, on Earth, the tall whites that are walking around typically have a bunch of small children, adolescent tall whites walking around with them, helping them maintain posture. Because if they didn't, they'd be slumping
Shut
over.
up. Shut the
How do they
fuck
do
up.
This is
that?
why we do our research here at Chilluminati Podcast.
How can a short
books that
white
are useless
help a tall
and
white?
watch documentaries that are pointless so that I will always remember this shit for the rest of my life.
How can a short white help a tall white?
They like walk around with holding their hands and like providing support.
But, like, pushing up.
A little
like
bit until they
pushing up.
sit down, like when they have to get up and walk, which
Well,
makes
who holds up the short whites then? Because presumably.
No, they're small enough. They're small enough. They're good. They're only 3 feet tall. The gravity doesn't affect them as much.
They're just squat. They're chody.
It still would affect them.
chody
It has
whites.
no bearing on what gravity does to you.
I'm just saying that's why they have to leave the planet so they can grow without having to worry about that kind of thing happening. You know what I mean?
So are they birthing new tall whites on planet Earth?
Well, shortish whites.
A little bit, yes, in their facility within the government base. So let's move. Let's keep going. After the first growing phase,
Great place to raise kids, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Let the government raise your kids for you. Nothing
Never
can go
mind.
wrong.
I stand corrected. I thought it was just weight affected gravity, but it's height and weight.
Yes.
So this checks out. I've Googled it. It checks out.
Yeah, science says I'm correct. Moving on.
checks out.
Google's AI has never steered me wrong.
So they grow and they grow to their adult size, 6 to 7 feet, and then that's their their next and final growth spurt happens about halfway through their life cycle. 400 years old, it's their third one. So they go a baby to adolescent, adolescent to adult, now adult into their final one. And their final phase of growth actually is the phase that kills them over time. The reason that they die at around 800 is because their body doesn't stop growing at this phase, and they will grow until they have organ failure from too much growth and that's how they die.
Like alligators.
That's
Dude,
crazy.
that's like those, every time you see a guy who's like 7 feet tall or whatever,
Yeah.
that's always his story. That kind of,
Right.
you know what? This may be real.
See, it's more
This may
believable than
be
Project
real.
Serpo was, which kind of sucks, actually, because Serpo was great.
But again, the problem. So, Aaron, we did this thing last week that was Project Serpo, and the only reason why it was so trash is because it was so detailed with facts that are not
Like bullshit facts.
anymore.
Like
And it
Saturn's
came
rings
from-
are rainbows, and they
It came
fit.
from 40 anonymous emails from an anonymous sender that
But that happens all the time in alien stuff where it's like anonymous person. The
Yeah.
problem is that they did facts that are, it was like, yeah, they traveled to this distant star at the speed of light and it took them this amount of time. And then people just calculated how long it would actually take to travel there. And they're like, that's totally false. That's not right.
Yeah.
And so they have to be like, oh, well,
10
no, the
months
spaceship though,
of intense G's.
the alien spaceship was like it's a different thing. And it's like, no.
Yeah, but
You
it's
said too
different
much.
though. You don't get it.
This is kind of fun because it's just vague enough to be stupid enough to be fun to listen to instead of getting outrageous and
It's
angry.
especially fun to picture because as Charles James is describing, he's the reason that they like him is because he's so boring, which is just such a just imagine like Hank Hill hanging out with a bunch of aliens. It's like, what the hell is happening over here? You got fingers and stuff, and they're just like, he's cool, don't worry about it.
It's like, yeah.
No, watch this, boo, and then he just pukes. That's all he does.
He's crazy.
We'll get to more-
Charles is always doing this stuff, man. He's crazy.
Meanwhile, in the background, a really tall one just starts like shrieking and dying. Body
their
rips
eyes-
itself apart.
Oh, he must
I said
be
earlier-
800 years old.
Yep.
Their eyes are large and blue. They sit on the sides of their head, like I said earlier, but they look human enough that if they wore enough of a disguise, they can actually pass as human.
Like fucking Ninja Turtles, dude.
That was my thought, too. I had the same fucking thought.
Raphael.
And guess what? They do it all the time because, surprise,
Awesome.
the tall weights fucking love Vegas. They love
No,
Vegas. I'm not kidding you.
Okay,
I'm
I've
not
seen one.
kidding you. The
No,
tall
I've seen
whites
one.
love
No, this is
Vegas.
real.
They think gambling with our currency is fucking hilarious and a great time. They often take trips to the strip just to enjoy the nightlife of humanity.
They're just like us.
I know several actual Norwegians who think the exact same thing. So I feel like
if an alien could describe
Yeah, tall
themselves,
whites.
Vegas is the place that could get away with it. Vegas and like anywhere in Florida.
So where do they get their money?
I'm sure the government just gives them like a stipend or something.
To gamble in Vegas.
that's how they bought the
Yeah,
land.
no,
They just work at
Go.
there's just like a subway uptown and they just all work
This is
there.
a huge threat to public safety, but go have fun.
They're
Just go have fun.
very sensitive and
Here's
very
$5.
reactionary, but also go gamble.
And they have 4-inch long claws on each of their fingers.
right. Yeah.
But so in order to participate though in that sweet human Vegas nightlife, the tall whites need a way to communicate because they don't speak English. They're not like fluent in English. So you might be thinking, well, maybe they're just like every other alien. They are telepathic, like every other species that we've talked about in some way. And you're like, if you were thinking that, you're like 75% wrong. The tall whites employ a mechanical device shaped like a small box that's hidden under their clothes that sits on their belts that translates languages back and forth instantaneously for them. And if they wanted to, they can
It's called
also
an
use
iPhone, dude.
no, it's a little box on their belt. And they can use that box to also telepathically communicate with them. But they also have devices back at the base that are telepathy helmets that eventually Charles starts to wear regularly after he starts to get used to these people.
Well, I don't know what this helmet is. I'll put it on though.
Whatever you say.
I'll tell you what, this is comfortable.
I can hear all their thoughts and shit. This is great.
So yeah, they can use that box and these helmets that they later use to also use for telepathy, but it's not an innate ability they have in their mind like the Greys use. It's a technology reason that they can actually do it, but it's more used for instant audible translation of the languages back and forth.
So wait, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So do they speak?
Yeah, but then the box, I think, gives out a voice.
And this is all totally believable when you're at the craps table.
Right. Well,
Yeah, you're like
everybody's so
4
drunk,
feet away
it
from
doesn't
this
really
person.
matter. All right. It doesn't,
Whoa.
they got
So
money.
this dude's rolling dice and like his dick is just talking to people.
Can I imagine just on the
What's up,
side
bro?
of his hip? Not the center?
Call.
Not a belt buckle, just on the belt?
I feel like the house would be concerned about the location of his eyes.
Listen, the
It'd be like,
government
he can see everything.
I bet you the government reaches out and lets the place know ahead of time, okay?
You're telling me the Luxor.
By the way, aliens
has
are
all the
real.
information.
So don't freak out when an alien walks onto your gambling floor and wants to run some slots.
Listen, he said they were believable enough if they were able to like dress up. So you have to imagine they're just passable. They look human.
Yeah. Slides you a 50 under his ID to get a better room.
Yeah, exactly.
Over 200 years, do their eyes like slide to the middle of their face?
No, but it's like, kind of like around the side and a little bit into the front, but not fully.
Oh, no.
I feel like you would notice if someone had even remotely side eyes, like just like a little bit.
Never been to Vegas in my life, so I just imagine that's normal. Just seeing people like of all walks of life. Doesn't matter where their eyes are on their body.
No, I mean, that's true, but they're still people.
They look kind of like people, apparently, according to Charles.
Kind of like is not the same as like people.
But they wear wigs, they put on makeup, and they wear clothing to hide like their finer features.
No, they fucking wear like shitty Obama Halloween masks. Like that's the only way they're getting around.
Maybe that's what they do.
All those guys dressed like Spider-Man on the strip. Alien.
There you go.
If you were curious and actually wanted to know what they sounded like when they spoke and you didn't use like that translator.
Please tell me there's a recording.
No. But I can tell you though, is that Charles says most of it is inaudible to the human ear due to its frequency, but there are bits of the language that are audible to the ear. And he says they sound like, quote, a combination of the beautiful lilt of the song of a meadowlark and the sharp, short stabs of a barking dog. So if any one of you want to take a stab at that.
So they're just hearing almost nothing, but it's like
wait, a meadowlark?
The sweet lilt song, beautiful lilt of song of a meadowlark and a short, sharp stabbing bark of a dog.
Let's hear a meadowlark. Oh.
There that
was good. That was good.
Perfect.
Sounded like they were right here with us.
a witch getting tickled.
It's like your stereotypical bird chirp is like what it sounds like. So that mixed with like the bop, 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 bop of a dog.
But that's like low. That's not. Like, I mean, unless he's talking about like a yippy dog.
He said the short stabbing barks of a dog.
That sucks. This guy sucks. That's not creative at all.
It's not like cool to imagine that. It sounds like it would sound annoying.
So after Charles' first encounter, showing these tall whites to seemingly be to have been mostly neutral around them, tall whites can still be, he learned, incredibly skittish. And if they feel threatened in any way, they will use extreme.
They'll fold.
They just like,
I'm out.
This is a bad hand. I'm out.
No, good. They will use extreme force and violently defend themselves from perceived threat. Moreover, it's not very difficult to make a tall white feel threatened, apparently. It's very easy to make them. Like theoretically, this is due to their, like I said earlier, the physical vulnerability and being aggressive on a hair trigger seems to be part of their evolutionary path.
Did they find humans threatening?
Well, they're doubly anxious on Earth because an extremely violent species who loves to shoot each other first and ask questions later kind of dominates it. And according to the book, they're so nervous around humans that according to the book, if you're going to move in any way around a tall white, you must declare your action beforehand, lest they think you're about to stand up and attack them.
Like Pokemon?
Everything from standing up to walking to sitting down, you have to say it first before you do it, or they might panic.
See, this is how I know this is fake, because this is a very American like aligned kind of, it's like, oh, a race that shoots first and asks questions later. It's like, yeah, one country. Like, what?
You say fake, I say another point for Charles being a boring man.
Yeah, land in the fucking fields of Sweden and nobody's shooting first and asking questions later.
Yeah. What tall whites though lack in physical strength, they make up for in dexterity. And they can move at such a speed that they can retrieve and use their pencil-shaped multi-use weapon/device that they keep within the nearby pocket that can hypnotize, stun, and even kill human beings using microwave frequency weaponry that interacts within the ions of the human body.
You talking about a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who?
Sick, dude. Can you get me one of those?
Yeah, it's kind of like, It's like like a Men in Black, like forgetter device, killing device, everything rolled in one. It's like very, very bizarre. And those that aren't violent but friendly still do so with a bit of arrogance and egotistic nature to them. They typically kind of like casually insult the humans they interact with. Not in any like attempt to insult us, but more in a matter of fact that they're better than us sort of way in terms of like technology and way of life. And
they're just like punching down more than they're
very much so. Yeah. Which mixed with humanity's penchant for not taking that kind of thing well has apparently led to many a violent encounter and even death of humans in the past who have, been trying to deal with the tall whites because they get offended when the tall whites say something mean to them and they talk back and then they die.
See, it's like these are stories that have happened. Like, when?
Mojave Desert.
Like, who wrote about that? This guy, and
Charles.
that's it? Like,
Charles.
it's like, oh, they've had so many interactions with people where they've done this and that with people. And it's like, who? Who's talking about this?
Where's that slashed up guy who was at the Vegas table?
Yeah, how do we know that a dude got brain zapped? Did the aliens say it? And if so, how do we know we can trust them?
Don't worry, I got answers for you. I did. Bro, when do I not read like books and watch? I'm well researched on this useless information.
For research is like such a loaded term here. I just must stress this.
It's not that you don't know. It's that oftentimes the story, the stories that you tell, I'm like, what about this obvious question? And they're like, no one knows.
Well,
and it's just like, all right.
Well, for all these stories above, I posit this is the reason why Charles was the perfect candidate to take on this job. Boring to the point of safety around the tall whites, that they not only tolerated him, but some of them even seemed to enjoy his company. Their arrogance around him became playful. He asks at one point about their planet, or like what the name of their planet is, and they laugh at him and ask if he knows how to speak their language. And of course, when he says no, they said, well, even if we told you, there's no way you could possibly know it.
He even introduced them to propane and propane accessories.
Charles, while he was out on patrols, would also see them out there running around on the range at up to speeds of 35 miles an hour. These things were running at.
Damn,
he even,
that's faster than Range 4 Harry.
Dude, he even did distance running himself, timing himself to see if that he was right about how fast they were. And fun fact, Charles could run about 8 miles an hour.
What? That is a fun fact. That is a fun fact.
Ladies.
Looking at him, that's like pretty fast.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
He looks like a hobbit.
Yeah.
He can move.
He's actually like 6'2", I think.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not hobbit size.
So he's a tall white himself.
I can still take him.
He is a tall white.
Truly.
Even better, he describes the way they would run physically, and it's just the Naruto run. Their hands are outstretched. Their body is bent forward. Their hair is whippling in the wind, and they literally run in the position of the Naruto run. So, you have that image now, at least. So one night when Charles was out doing his, Jesse,
I'm on the evolution thing right now. I'm just trying to figure out why they would evolutionarily choose, like why that would be the selective choice in evolution to have them run like Naruto. It doesn't make sense.
Aerodynamics, my man.
Prey species. They got to get away fast.
Aerodynamics, dog.
Then the rest of their body would have been built to speed.
They're
like
very,
all
very
four.
skinny.
You can go faster with 4 limbs.
Maybe not them. Maybe that. Maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe not.
Okay. All right.
One night when Charles was out doing his duties, driving around in his truck, he saw a generator shed had a glowing, flickering light coming from it. So having to go check it out to make sure everything was fine. He stopped over to the potential malfunction, and it was his duty to ensure that basically everything was running well. That's why he would do patrols. He'd just make sure everything's kind of just operational. And so he stepped into the dimly lit shed where he kind of began in his inspection, and the hum of the generator was the only thing breaking the silence. However, after he finished and made sure everything was good, when he turned around, who was standing in the doorway himself? None other than face-to-face Range 4 Harry.
Yes!
Oh.
Yeah!
Oh, my God.
Wait, so we know what Range 4 Harry looks like?
Absolutely. We do. He looks like a horse, kind of.
Wait, he said he had like a human face, though.
A little bit of a human-ish face, yes. But
what does that mean? Like when you see a dog that kind of has the eyes of a man?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I think.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. You see the dog with the man eyes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I truly do. This creature stood tall. Its eyes were glowing with an eerie luminescence, and it held a strange metallic device pointed directly at Charles's temple.
Held how? Whoa.
Because while he may look like a horse, he's actually a tall white. He has hands.
Oh, shit!
Actually,
fucking twist!
Dude, now we can take the bounty hunter story, and it's one of his own. He's his own.
Harry,
God.
He's like Blade.
He's a righteous defender of freedom.
He's the Daywalker.
Wait, but is he still like?
He's the Grey Walker.
Is he still like?
Yeah, he's still like
half
still
tall white,
very
half
weird
charred from the
looking compared
explosion.
to other tall whites. It's never fully described, like why
Weapon X
and like exactly. Other than then it is
Mathis?
this. Don't Mathis me.
I must stress this to you. If you're about to tell us that Range 4 Harry is like, do not listen to them. The tall whites are lying to you. I'm here to save you from them. This is the greatest story you've ever told us, and I'm in 100%.
Don't say that because now you're going to be
Pulls out
sad.
two
That's not
guns
how
from
it
inside his
goes,
trench coat.
unfortunately. But we should make a comic that's how it goes, and it could be called Range 3 Larry. Copyright avoided.
Did he copyright Range 4 Harry? Range 4 Harry's a real guy. Come on.
I don't know.
You can't copyright that.
I don't know, actually, if he copyright. I hope not. I hope we can use that. I would love to write like a single issue comic about the bounty hunter Range 4 Harry.
All right, let's hear who Range 4 Harry really is up, what he is, what he's doing.
Turned around face to face with Range 4 Harry, who was holding up a strange metallic device pointed directly at Charles's temple. And from that device, a high-pitched whine emanated from it. Don't worry.
Oh, jeez.
He said, don't worry, it won't hurt you. So you might, what had happened not too long ago is he hurt his knee. At one point, Charles was out. He was doing his patrol. He got out of the car. And as he was getting out of the car, he saw a tall white from one of behind the bush, and it scared him. And he slipped, fell, twisted his ankle, broke his knee, fell into a sagebrush, and then vomited.
God damn it.
So, it just kind of, it happened. Actually, so the reason that even happened was because after he tested himself and he was running 8 miles an hour, he decided that he was actually going to start training in hopes of one day being able to be fast enough to maybe keep up with them in some way. So one day he was practicing his broad jump and he slipped and fell, smashed his knee, tumbled into the thorn patch, vomited, and then and now moaning.
It's like fucking Looney Tunes, dude.
Dude, it's
This is the training montage
like Hot Rod falling down the
end
hill.
of every gag.
Now he's moaning, hurting in pain, desperately in need of somebody to come help him because, mind you, he decided not to train on base. He went out into the middle of the desert to do this. But eventually a few tall whites stumbled across him. And as they approached him, they were carrying what he described as like an old timey medical bag. He got super nervous and the tall whites noticed and he even backed off from him because he was so like obviously nervous. But he quickly learned that the Pentagon was contacted and the government sent over somebody to get him because what they have is one of the tall whites contacted one of the tall whites inside Nellis Air Force Base, who then contacted the Pentagon, who then cared enough about Charles's health to send out like a military unit to come get him and then bring him back to the base.
Wait, so where does Range 4 Harry fit into this?
So now he's out a couple nights after. He never got his leg properly looked at. He's in a little bit of pain, but he's still doing his duty. He gets to the generator. He turns around. Now Range 4 Harry standing there. That's when he touches him to the temple, does the thing to his head. And Range 4 Harry says, quote, "Don't worry, it won't hurt you." It's a voice that kind of echoed in his mind, and the words formed without being spoken aloud. And the voice was very calm and reassuring, but still undeniably alien to him. And Range 4 Harry gestured towards Charles's knee, which had been injured during that practice, and he felt sudden warmth on his knee. And basically, Range 4 Harry showed up because they needed to look at his knee, and nobody was able to look at his knee because Charles wouldn't let anybody look at his knee. So fucking Range 4 Harry showed up, did a little zap to his head, and what felt like just a few moments as his vision blurred past, he realized 2 hours passed because they needed to fucking handle his knee.
Hey, question for you, bud.
I
You're telling me that this man told everyone he hurt his knee.
Mm-hmm.
I was out there, I hurt my knee, it was terrible. But then wouldn't let anyone check on his knee.
Yeah.
And then eventually an alien showed up and fixed his knee.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
But didn't you just say that he was in a situation where he like got really nervous and they called the Pentagon on him because wouldn't they just be able to like touch a thing to his forehead and be like, "You're not nervous anymore, child."
I guess they respected his wishes, and Range 4 Harry got the order to go do it, whether he said it or not.
They're masters
They know what it's like to get
both
nervous.
medicine and diplomacy.
They're scared easily. They know what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. See, thank you, Jesse. And there's a reason.
Now, can you use that?
They're like,
on
no, we
Muhammad?"
get it, dude.
So he felt a strange sense, his eyes blurred, and moments, like I said, felt like passed, but it was actually 2 hours that passed. And when he gained consciousness, he didn't feel fatigue or discomfort. His knee actually felt completely fine and was actually fully healed. So Range 4 Harry came over to help him out. Eventually, after this incident, the next incident with the Tall Whites, a few nights after this, would be one where Charles would come across his very first family of Tall Whites out on the range.
Vacation?
No, just out on range 3 or 4 at night, after the sun goes down.
Hold on. Why are they always just out chilling on the range?
They're just, doing experiments.
You got to get some air sometimes, Jesse.
Yeah, see? You can't just be underground all the time.
Do you think the kid aliens enjoyed it? Was this like they were dragged along? Like when the family takes you to Williamsburg and you're just like,
it's going to be, as we wrap the story up, you will see you're
going to like Earth.
You're going to see there is a reason that they're here and what they're doing here. And Charles is, very, very involved in it.
Wait, so it's not a stopover. It's an actual thing.
No, let me get to it, Jesse, right now. All he is a guy that's starting to interact with the Tall Whites. That's what he's doing.
It just feels very convoluted,
this also
story.
Speaks to what I was saying earlier, where it's like, okay, they like warmer climates, but if they're all hanging out outside at night, it's fucking freezing in the desert all the time.
Okay, I don't know. I can't answer the question. I don't know.
He would know that too. If he's saying they're out in the if he worked in the desert,
yes,
he would know at night it's fucking cold.
Maybe they're wearing special alien clothes that keep them warm.
No, because they're glowing. They're glowing, Mike.
Well, that's what they say. But I know the truth, and we're actually going to get to it in a goddamn second.
Okay, I'll shut up.
So he's dealt with Tall Whites before. He knows what to do. He approaches low and slow. Once he's close enough that they notice him, however, each one of them stood straight up as though they were about to be attacked and faced him. But just as they did, who else showed up but Range 4 Harry again?
Oh, hell yeah.
Now, at this time,
his fucking cowboy hat and his fucking buckles.
Right. I'm picturing a rope comes down first and then he slides down the rope.
And at this time, there is the introduction of the telepathic helmets. And we know that Charles wears one at night when he goes patrolling at this particular point in his life. So Range 4 Harry appeared wearing himself what's known as a thought transference helmet, something that the other Tall Whites were also wearing. And through this, Charles, they were wearing, I don't know what to tell you. They're wearing helmets, Jesse.
Yeah.
Through this, Charles tried to relay that he wasn't here to hurt anyone or do anything but to harm them, that he was here just to doing his job. But one of them couldn't stop thinking that Charles might run over, attack one, tear the limbs off of them, and stuff the body into one of those quote unquote terrible garbage cans.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the thought that kept happening.
Dark thoughts.
After around 10 minutes of this, the family was finally calmed down enough. They were able to move over to Range 4 Harry calmly, while Harry thanked Charles for not moving an inch during this entire process, trying to talk him down. Because Charles's life was in danger in this moment. They could attack him at any moment, and Range 4 Harry can't stop a family of them. There's too many.
Even he, the coolest warrior of them all.
Even though he's been trained in alien jiu-jitsu.
Let's see, no, it's serious.
Range 4 Harry.
Follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
If this is them out in the wild, why Vegas?
They love Vegas.
Yeah, they're in the Mojave Desert, right?
Yeah, Mojave Desert.
There's only one Vegas.
Right, but if they're so panicky over everything.
Yeah, there are like smaller
Well, you
strips
imagine
of
the ones that
Vegas.
are the ones that are fully adults, the ones that have gone through their first 2 growing phases are the ones that are going where they can handle it a little bit more than those who are younger, who are the more feral, I would call them.
Oh, the ones that are dying.
Yes,
who
well,
just
they
don't.
got 400 years of dying to go. So like that's a long time. Like they're all right. They got time to enjoy.
Do they take the bus?
I bet they do. I bet they take the bus.
Do they have like charter
They
buses?
do wear human disguises, and I bet you they want to experience the magic of a human bus, the smell of a human
Do
bus.
they eat? Do they eat human food?
Yeah, do they go to Guy Fieri's?
They don't.
Do you think that's...
they can't eat human food. Their food
Burger,
is rather
like
boring and bland. And fun fact is one of the reasons Charles tries it at one point and it causes him to vomit.
Where do they stay in Vegas?
Yeah, no, weird. They don't sleep over.
What's their hotel of choice?
No, they don't go overnight. They come back to the base when they're done.
What do you mean? They get they get plastered and they got to pass out somewhere.
Yeah.
Where they get a room.
Where are they going?
That actually,
they staying at the Rio? Do they like a good magic show?
Well, they sound like avid gamblers, so I don't think they have any good money to like a good hotel.
Oh,
I've
never gamble with your own money.
I've never been to Vegas, so I don't know where you would stay. I don't know where.
They're landowners.
They are landowners.
They own real estate in the Mojave Desert.
They own. It's true. The government gave them some real estate. So after that tense 10-minute encounter, as Charles was making his way back, he was still connected to the thoughts of others because it's a distance thing. You know, there's a distance before it severs. And as he was listening to the thoughts over in the distance, in time, he was able to overhear Harry tell the family that Charles would never harm them and that he was so much more intelligent than any of the other humans. And in fact, Harry had never seen someone as intelligent
he wrote
as
this book,
Charles
right?
before. Yes.
This is the guy who wrote it?
And his dick is huge. I mean, it's gigantic.
Remember, his wife forced him to publish this book. This was a private book that, according to his wife's forward, he would close his laptop every time, be like, I'm not.
This was the scene that he was writing.
Whoa, time out. I think we're on to something here because the wife said she went in there and changed stuff and removed the dirty. He definitely banged that guy's wife.
Yeah.
The aliens said he had a huge dick. I'm convinced of this.
It might have been a way better version of this book of all the macho talk, as she called it, would have been left
She
in.
came in and he was like,
what it was.
Relaxing.
Just take out the smut.
Yeah. I'm writing my memoirs. Please leave me alone. So yeah, he heard like
use the same cover. What's wrong with the first cover?
So yeah, Harry had never seen someone as intelligent as Charles before. Never. That's what he said in the thoughts that he overheard. It's after this that the tall white seemed to take a genuine...
Says a lot about our military, doesn't it?
It does. It really, truly does.
Oh, man.
It says that even any man can become a hero in the right circumstances.
Wow.
It's after
any man?
Like Lord of the Rings.
Yes, correct. Lord of the Rings. It's a modern day...
Any man?
Any man. Every man? Any man? Every man? Whatever.
The any man is worse than the every man.
Good at improv,
the every man
bro.
is like all of us. It's union. It's like a message of all of us.
Is like,
the any man is like a fucking psycho can do it. Yeah. You fucking eat your own poop, you can do it. Any man.
Yeah, fair. So after this event, it seems the tall white seemed to take a genuine interest in Charles, and so much so that they kind of start like hazing him and like fucking with him on the almost nightly just to see how he would react. Like a mean science experiment, like a bully in high school who tells you the pain is just weakness leaving the body. You know, that kind of bullying. One of my favorite stories is when Charles saw a white parachute that was floating kind of weirdly outside the gate of the base, to which made Charles immediately extremely nervous and scared and caused him to vomit.
He saw the balloon?
A parachute looking thing floating out from the gate, and it made him really...
He looked back on the ground and he saw the weather balloons there in tatters, and he barfed.
And he just threw up. Yeah. He also then saw the very next night a piece of plastic, he says, floating around that looked odd and like it didn't quite belong. This made Charles extremely anxious and caused him to vomit.
Okay, all right. So these aliens,
Welcome to the show, Aaron. 251 episodes in, you are taking it.
These like aliens are living on this base, with the knowledge of the U.S. government, and Charles is discovering these aliens through just like being around. Like this isn't being like disclosed to him. He's just like wandering around and then finding these guys. So like, is this happening to anybody else? Like what, like wing is he a part of? Like how is anybody who like knows these aliens not like observing this guy and being like, yo, there's a guy from fucking Range 1 who's like hanging out with our aliens? Like what the fuck is going on with that? That's not right.
When he came to the base, they literally said they make up numbers and nobody goes out there because everybody's way too scared to deal with these things.
It sounds like the scene in Men in Black where the aliens are like, Jay! And they're like pouring themselves coffee. He's just walking around and they're hanging out with them.
Yeah. Pretty much, kind of. It's kind of like that, yeah.
They're just walking around the base. It's like, yeah, they live there for some reason.
This is so Have you seen the dude that the aliens are hazing right now? Like, should we do something about that? Or like, they're really fucking with him.
Nah, it's all good fun.
One of the other things they did was they eventually took him onto one of their spacecraft, which he goes on to describe uses a form of propulsion that doesn't adhere to typical human understanding of physics. Traveling in these crafts often caused him severe motion sickness, leading to him vomiting. While the tall whites, they also primarily communicated with their vocal translators. They used the technology to also telepathically communicate some of the time, and they quickly learned that Hall seemed very sensitive to these things. It would overwhelm him. It would cause an intense pressure in his head, accompanied by immediate vomiting.
Do you think they all this stuff they said about him was just fake? Like, oh, he's so smart. When really what they passed around was like, dude, this guy's hilarious.
We've never met another human like this guy.
As real. This is the cucked general getting back at him for dancing to his wife and sending him here for his job. Because that happened. He got this gig after that.
Oh, 100%. This guy knew what was up. The general was like, send him to the tall whites.
Hall also mentions that tall whites sometimes use high frequency sounds as a form of communication or technology, and these sounds were often inaudible to the human ear but caused physical discomfort in Hall, including headaches, pain, nausea, which then induced vomiting.
Is he like showing off? Like, what is this? What is this bit? I
don't know.
He like just leave it out. He doesn't have to say that he vomits and everything. Like, he really doesn't.
And he did probe them about like what these noises were for, and they refused to explain them. They would not tell him what they were for.
Well, yeah,
they just didn't. I think they were like, want to make the human puke.
It's what it sounds like.
And then once, while the tall whites brought him to the food hall where they would eat, they're giving him some of their food to try. They knew ahead of time that the food was not compatible with human biology. They did not tell him that. And on several occasions, without just excusing it that he must have gotten sick, so it happened a couple times, he would consume their food or drink, which would result in him becoming ill, stomach cramps, pain, and then vomiting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He went through a lot of people.
This guy's got a fucked up esophagus, man. I'll tell you that. Like,
yeah, he's fucked, dude.
His teeth are all rotted.
All of them like hung out with him and seemed to at least tolerate his company. But this would all eventually lead to his fated encounter with a tall white that he called the Teacher.
Oh.
It all started when he got a call that an airliner had gone down in the Mojave Desert. But Charles had known that no airliner was supposed to be flying over that area during that day. And he sent out a few men to check out the area. And when they returned, they ended up reporting that there was, in fact, not an airliner crash, but there was something out there. One of his men even returned with a burn on his head so bad that he continued passing out. Eventually, when he came to, he spoke of something that, in fact, was in the desert, but was not a crashed airline, but something that seemed to look like a plane without wings, to my mind, Tic Tac shape.
Like a cigar?
Or cigar shape. That was on fire in the ground. He shouted for everyone inside of what he believed to be a human aircraft to get out. And when he did, out walked what he called 4 pale, tall-looking mutant humanoid creatures that came climbing out and were immediately growling at him with a sound that he claimed seemed to be a mix of a horse and a coyote.
Okay. Were they on fire?
Yeah. No. They're smaller, like 3 feet tall. So like 4, 3 feet tall.
So these creatures were the kid versions?
Yes, these are the small.
Why did it
whites.
take them so long to get out of the burning craft?
I don't know. I have no idea.
They waited for him to show up.
Yeah, he showed up and shouted for them to get out, and they were getting out. The small creatures that were then followed by an actual tall white who said that don't worry, they were only playing and that he needed to run and get out of here right now if he wanted to survive.
They were only playing?
He literally said, don't worry, they're only playing and you need to get out of here right now if you want to survive. That's what he told the guy, the human soldier. That's what the tall white said to the human soldier.
Awesome.
So very playful children. He didn't believe a word of what they were saying, though, and ran up and tried to grab the woman that he believed, like the mother of these children, and get her away from the fire before two other tall whites came out of the plane, stopping him, screaming at him to get out of here and run for his life already. Because
get out of here!
Yeah, like run for his life because the kids were like about to like attack him, I guess. Still trying to save him, ignoring those people, and he's still trying to save this one of the tall whites. One of them ended up pulling out that pencil-like tool, zapped him in the head, and called him a stupid pig, and that he had no right to touch the teacher, and he ought to kill him before he blacked out and passed out.
What?
No. That's it.
Then he was carried back by the guys he was passing out because he was burned so bad. It's because he passed out near the fire.
Yeah, but he didn't vomit?
No, this isn't Charles. This is one of the men Charles sent out.
Okay.
This is one of his men. Yeah, no, Charles would have vomited by now, 100%. As Charles was told all this, he was the only one that seemed to have any sort of positive interaction with these tall whites, that they went right back to Charles to tell him about it, only for Charles to kind of sort of like shrug at them and say, okay, what do you want me to do about it? Like, he just like, okay, why are you telling me this? I don't know what you want me to do.
All right, again, to confirm, all these people on base were like, yo, Charles is a tall white guy.
Yep.
So go talk to him.
Yes.
And who are these guys? And why aren't they saying anything?
These are like the dudes he said that Charles grabbed to send out to investigate what he was told was an airliner that crashed, when in reality it seems to be an alien spacecraft that crashed.
Right. So they had this whole fucking first encounter kind of shit. And where are they now? They're
back at the base with
No, I mean
Charles.
like now. Like, why aren't
Oh, this is not their real names. Their anonymities kept for their privacy and safety.
They're chilling in Cabo San Lucas.
I don't know where they are.
Can we call them up and ask him about these aliens?
There are many videos of him doing interviews on many different panels and shows. And if you can suffer through it, I bet you there's one of them where he answers that question. I bet. It's not one that I listen to. This teacher knows of Charles, is coming looking for Charles, and decides that he's going to come to the teacher was going to come right to the base looking for Charles. So the teacher goes looking, ended up meeting with one of Charles's men that went out. And
wait, what? He just shows up at the base.
Yes, just shows
like,
up.
Angrily knocking on the door like, hey, you bring Charles out right now.
More interested in speaking with Charles, be like, I've heard this human Charles is actually a fascinating person. Let's speak with him. This tall white known as the teacher got done up in a ton of makeup, a human disguise, and a wig, and came out to this base looking... Met
like Mars Attacks.
Met a soldier that was out there initially, a man by the name of Brian, where she learned that Charles was actually out for the night in Vegas having a good time. And so she said,
Vegas, hot dog, I'll be right there.
I'll be right out there. I cannot wait. She said, thank you, and then turned around and left at a speed that wasn't human, according to Brian. And that was it. She got done all up for that.
She ran away like with her arms behind her?
I imagine she was like Naruto run immediately out of there.
And just zoom to Vegas?
So, with that one attempt failing, in order to ensure that they get a hold of Charles, the tall whites set up a faked doctor's appointment, telling him that he needed a standard appointment with the local on-base neurosurgeon for some reason. Neurosurgeon. Yeah, good one. And when he arrived at the doctor's office, at the receptionist desk, and this is in the book, I swear to God, a tall white that was dressed up like a woman in a wig with doctor's clothes on and like a little hat, had him check in and then made him wait for 30 minutes in the reception area.
To make it really believable.
Yes. Well, there was a point, actually. Eventually, he was called in to meet with the supposed doctor, where he was instead met with, he thinks was either a security agent or something, where they started having small talk about fruit trees for a while. And then afterward, this security person, kind of out of nowhere, says, congratulations, Charles, you passed the first test. For waiting quietly for 30 minutes before being sent into the building. That was the first test. And he passed.
Wow.
Man, he's just all about congratulating himself.
Next, he was instructed to leave the building and walk directly straight for a mile without looking back once. And he would arrive.
They're hazing him again.
And he would arrive at the place that he would be working
Don't
on.
fall for it, Charles.
Don't do it.
Where he would arrive at the new place where he'd be working on base, where he would spend at least 6 months at a time there with the occasional 2-week break. And so, without really arguing or asking any questions, he said, okay. And he left and then walked straight for a mile, where he arrived on a small little building on the base that he was already working on, where he was told that he was now on a new secret mission.
Oh, hell yes.
One chosen by the Pentagon itself, just for Charles' quote unquote incredible reasoning ability. That's why the Pentagon chose him.
Yep.
That's what he said.
This is literally Michael Scarn.
and that they never met somebody who has the guts that Charles had.
Fuck off. It was Neil Breen.
Neil Breen, yes.
You know, honey, I love the party is a story where you go on the secret mission for the Pentagon. That's my favorite part. People are going to love that part.
Just get the swears out of there, baby.
Do we really have to publish this?
Penguin is knocking down our door. But you know what? I think maybe we should just put it out yourself.
So at this new station, he would finally meet and greet the teacher herself, a 6 foot tall, elegant, tall white that he described as, quote, looking upon a beautiful horse.
What's his deal with horses? What is his deal with horses?
Dude, he's like a horse guy.
I don't know what that even means, man.
Does he know what horses look like?
I don't know. He grew up in the Midwest. He grew up in Wisconsin. He has to.
Dude wants to fuck a horse. That's all there is to it, man.
Maybe that's what this was initially, was like a weird, like, furry porn thing he was writing. And she's like, we can sell this, but we need to change everything.
You got to take out the horse fucking, honey. Nobody's going to read your horse fucking story.
Little did he, if he just waited another like 30, 40 years, he could be a rich, rich man. Yeah, so this is a new secret mission, meeting up with the teacher, this beautiful horse-like creature. And the first encounter with the teacher was as unexpected as it was intriguing for Charles.
The teacher is not a humanoid. He's a horse.
They're a tall white.
Right.
That just looked like a very attractive horse.
I don't know what he means when he says it looked like looking upon a beautiful horse. I genuinely...
Well, he thought that Harry was a horse,
idea.
and Harry just turned out to be a tall white.
I don't understand. I guess. Yeah.
I'm questioning what he is. I don't think he knows what horses look like.
Is there like a disease where you just, instead of seeing like shapes, like you just see horses everywhere?
Actually. So there...
I did not. All right. Let's go.
I am ready for this.
Here's a question that I wanted to ask a while back. When he was approached by Range 4 Harry with his little device, and he was like, none other than Range 4 Harry. How did he know that was Range 4 Harry?
I wrote that. So, because he had described and supposedly like seen Range 4 Harry before, but not up close. This was the first time he had gotten to Range 4 Harry up close.
Exactly. It's like they all kind of look the same.
How dare you? First of all,
not to be racist against tall whites, but like, how would he? Was he like, yes, I'm Range 4 Harry? Like, he doesn't know.
Maybe because the telepathic thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't buy it.
Listen,
weren't telepathic.
There's a lot that kind of just doesn't get acknowledged. That we just have to assume the telepathic helmet does a lot of lifting. All right. I don't know what else to say.
It's just a helmet that you put on and you know all information, is what you're saying.
Also, the thing that Professor Xavier puts on his house. Cerebro. Thank you. Good God. I just, the X-Men cartoon was so good, though. X-Men 97 was phenomenal.
All the aliens had Cerebro?
Yeah.
I don't know, though. They had like an MIB device in their pocket, is what they all had. I'm saying they had on base these telepathic helmets. I don't know if they had infinite supply of them.
All good, dude. All good.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're asking too many questions at this point.
Clearly. Half of him is irradiated, and the other half is tall white, but he also looks like a horse. But also, if you look at him, you die. This is the coolest thing that's ever existed.
I Googled Range 4 Harry, and there's like no pictures of him in Google image search, except for there's two a little bit down. There's one that's fucking awesome, and it's like a horse, and it looks like there's like blue electricity running through him, and it's awesome. And it's the Y files. What is 4 Range Harry? But then there's another one where it's like green, and somebody photoshopped that face on him.
That's amazing. Oh, that's so good.
Oh, I'm gonna send this link right now. This one is.
I got a picture of Harry Potter.
This one's directly from Reddit, and this guy says this is what I imagine Range 4 Harry looks like, and this is.
Oh, is it
awesome.
the Berserk panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
So upsetting.
Yes, it's kind of like, that's horrifying, though. I would hate that so much. But then he's like, I'm here to fix your knee. I don't know if I would trust him.
He's a nice guy.
Range 4 Harry
is a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. He truly is. So yeah, remember, Charles, incredible reasoning ability, smartest guy in the world. That's why they picked him. He's on this mission now. At his new station here, meeting with the teacher herself, 6 foot tall, beautiful horse-looking creature. He was stationed at the remote Indian Springs base, diligently recording weather data one afternoon. As he finished his readings, a figure emerged from the shimmering heat waves of the desert. Tall, slender, and clad in a shimmering white garment. And it's here he realized that these tall whites didn't actually glow because of their bodies. It was the clothing they wore that seemed to refract and reflect light. That was somewhat aluminum that made them look like they glowed under low
How did
light.
he not figure this out until this
So
point?
in Vegas, they're totally fine.
He didn't get super close before. Remember?
Yes,
every
he
time they got close,
did.
he puked
Fucking
and passed
Range 4
out.
Harry went up and touched him with a metal thing on his head.
Okay, well, that he like zapped him in the mind and like things happened. All right. I don't know why. Maybe Range 4 Harry's naked.
No, he glows.
All right, fine. No, I refuse.
No,
Part of the legend of Range 4 Harry is that he glows. Don't tell me it's fucking aluminum clothes.
No, he glows.
No.
When they first got together, though interested that she showed up, but not remotely afraid as he's dealt with tall whites so long, it wouldn't be long before a tall white known as a teacher would become kind of intrigued by humanity in a sense. Her very first question was simple but profound. What is this thing you call love? She asked.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
My people have told the tales of your lovemaking, and I am
Please,
intrigued.
Charles, what is horny?
What do the human means by bricked up?
5 books? 5 books he wrote of this?
Six books. 6 books. 6 books, a documentary, and countless interviews.
Awesome.
And this is like us saying, it's not like a very major wrinkle in UFO like culture, but there is a place in UFO world where people believe this is actually real. Like this actually happened.
It is Googleable. It like does exist out there.
It is Googleable. Yeah. Another question she would ask that night is, why do humans laugh?
Oh no.
And
what do you mean? Why do they laugh? They're fucking playing pranks on him and shit, and they don't laugh.
He said, gambling with human currency is hilarious to them.
To Charles, it was clear that her base intention, at least initially, was to try to understand the complexities of human emotions and behavior. Intrigued by her inquisitiveness, Charles engaged in conversation, trying his best to explain the nuances of human emotions and social interactions. And again, he read the books. The man is not great with words. I imagine very much a Hank Hill
Boy,
attempt.
I tell you what, man, laughing, it's the best. This is so good. You watch the movie Airplane and you're just in stitches, I'll tell you what.
Some stuff's not haha funny. It's just kind of.
Y'all got a VHS player? I carry a copy of Airplane in my truck.
Sometimes things are funny on purpose. Some things are funny on accident.
All right, I gotta go.
It's that mind. It's that razor sharp mind that he has.
It is. It's that, and is just genius and unbelievable guts he also possesses.
Steel trap.
He also didn't even click with me. They said that he has he's one of the bravest men alive. The man pukes anytime he gets scared.
I'm telling you, they're messing with him.
Brave, they're just this general. Just
they all convinced her to go out there. All right, we're gonna send this really hot alien to go mess with them. She's gonna be like, tell me about love. And they're all laughing in the background.
I think that's way closer to the truth. These initial conversations too were brief but frequent, occurring whenever the teacher found herself near Charles's location, and she would appear unexpectedly, sometimes while he was working, other times during his leisure time. And each encounter was an opportunity for Charles to learn more about the Tall Whites' culture, technology, biology, their perspective on the universe, and more. And to answer the question of where we learned all these things, it's through his conversations with the teacher that we did learn about all the Tall Whites and how they, their world operates and how, they evolved the way they did.
Thank goodness.
And it seemed the teacher's curiosity was insatiable. She asked about everything from human history to politics to music to art. She was particularly fascinated by human emotions, often struggling to understand the complexity of love, anger, and joy. And Charles, in turn, shared his knowledge and experiences, patiently answering her questions and trying to bridge the gap between the two cultures. Their interactions were not always smooth, though, and there were misunderstandings and miscommunications due to the differences perceived and ways of expressing themselves. And one of my other favorite stories is over time, he'd spend about over 6 months here. The teacher would bring along with her small tall whites, children tall whites, and they would she would have for them ask him questions. He would also ask them, just kind of talk with them and stuff. But on a couple occasions, due to a sudden movement or something he did answered wrong, they would get aggressive and defensive, and they start snarling and stuff. And it would freeze, and you have to wait, and she'd have to take them away, end their session early. And when they left, he vomited. So keeping true to who he is.
When he's all by himself, it's just like
yeah, it's just like the climax moment. He's like, just out of nowhere, and he's done. One day, the teacher asked Charles about his family and his childhood. He shared stories about his parents, his siblings, his life growing up in rural Wisconsin, and the teacher listened intently, her expression a mix of fascination and empathy. She said, at one point, "Your family sounds very loving," she remarked. "We do not have families in the same way that you do. Our children are raised communally by all members of our society." So they're a communal species. And that's why these children kind of seem to be kind of all over the place, because everybody's being raised by everybody else. As their interactions continued, the teacher began to take on a more active role in Charles's life. She would often appear during his work hours, observing his routines and asking detailed questions about his duties as a weather observer.
Jerk him off.
that part was edited out by the wife. She was fascinated by the technology humans used to predict and understand weather patterns, and she often engaged Charles in discussions about meteorology and atmospheric science. One day, the teacher invited Charles to accompany her on a little field trip.
Wait,
they ventured into the heart.
They have space travel to other planets? And she's fascinated by fucking somebody who's it's going to rain tomorrow. Like, what?
Yeah. I imagine it's a cutesy fascination of that's adorable. Your technology.
I think they're playing with him. I think he thinks he's more hot shit than he is, and they're just like
he's kind of like Neil Breen in that he's not self-aware.
The way he describes them, talking to everyone else is like humans, but for him he's special. No, they're playing this man.
He impresses them. Tell him good job once in his life.
Yeah.
Who's coming to dinner?
So they went on a little field trip. They ventured out into the heart of the Nevada desert, far from the confines of the military base. And as they walked, the teacher pointed out various plants and animals, explaining their significance in the ecosystem and their potential uses for the tall whites. She also shared insights into the tall whites' own technology, explaining how they harnessed natural energy sources and how they used advanced materials to construct their spacecraft and other devices. Charles was amazed by her knowledge and her willingness to just share it with him. Their field trips became a regular occurrence, each one a unique opportunity for Charles to learn and explore. The teacher introduced him to hidden locations in the desert where the tall whites had established secret bases and research facilities. Whoa. He witnessed firsthand their advanced technology, their sophisticated infrastructure, and their harmonious way of life. In a way, he was becoming the teacher's friend.
Wow. Bro, this is all just what fucking happened in his head when he had that one dance with that general's she asked him about the weather and then his family, and then she was like, "I'm an engineer, I do this stuff," and he's like, "That's cool." And this is what played out in his fucking imagination.
You're so wordy and smart.
Yeah, man. Yeah, maybe that's what, and he held on to it for decades. He never
just did one hit of some meth or something and just had this whole.
This man did not do meth. You've heard the way he speaks. This man did ayahuasca one time and lived this life. He imagined it for so long. Through these experiences, Charles' understanding of the tall whites deepened. He came to appreciate and respect their culture, their commitment to peaceful coexistence, and their thirst for knowledge. He also began to see the potential for collaboration between humans and extraterrestrials as a whole, a vision that would inspire his future work in advocacy. He went on to do other things about physics and alien physics and stuff. What is alien physics? Let me get the name of his book.
Are those?
They've got their own reality that they work on. It's fine.
Oh, books. What's the name of it? There's one more book he did. Not Millennial Hospitality. That's not what he did.
I also love that this is his idea.
That's what he did, but there's another book he did as well. Oh, Beyond Relativity. It's called. This book is an expansion on Hall photon theory, first presented in 1998, his own theory, and recent observations by Hubble support HPT, and nothing has come out against it, is what he says.
Oh, sure.
And I'll go ahead and link you to the book if you want the paperback version on Amazon.
Okay, real quick. I've forgotten that this was called Millennial Hospitality.
This was released in 2020, by the way. He's still active.
Sure. Do we know why it's called what it's called?
Millennial hospitality?
Yeah.
Because the aliens and their hospitable nature toward him.
Yeah, and they grow to be 1,000.
800? Get it right?
So 800 is different than 1,000. That's a big difference. You can't just be like millennial hospitality.
I know, but that's what he did, man. He rounded up.
To us, it's nothing.
It's nothing.
What's another 100 years? Like, we'll be dead.
Who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter. And there's the book, his other book that he wrote for 2020. Like I said, he went on to go do other things. His own theory about photons that I did not read, I do not know, and I maybe one day if we're like on episode 1,000, I run out of topics.
I just love the idea that this guy is like fraternizing with this fucking alien that's being kept at a military base.
Yes.
And he's like, this gives me an idea. We should collaborate with the aliens.
Oh, fuck. It's like, bro, they are actually.
He's like fucking Thomas Edison or some shit. Like he's like sitting there like pressing his finger to their finger and like a light happens and it like zooms out and everybody's learning.
She actually would speak to him about her childhood, her training as a scientist, and her role as a mentor and guide to younger tall whites. These personal anecdotes gave him a glimpse into the heart and mind of a being from another world, fostering a deeper connection between the two of them. And as Charles' relationship with the teacher deepened, she began to reveal more about the tall whites' true purpose on Earth. They were not mere visitors, she explained, but rather caretakers of sorts, observing and guiding humanity's development because they saw potential in humans, but also recognized our destructive tendencies and our capacity for self-destruction.
And they love to gamble on the side.
It's a typical message we seem to get with a lot of alien encounters where they're like, you're ruining the Earth, man. Find love, live in peace and harmony. You know, that kind of thing was basically the message. But moreover, the secondary use for Charles very specifically is that he was told and eventually learned that he was being used to help acclimate young child tall whites to humans because he was so docile and so non-threatening. They could bring children to him and kind of have them fraternize around him as a human to get used to other humans.
He's docile. He's a genius. He's a lover.
I'm telling you, that was
scientist,
it. That's why she started bringing children around. She started it was because his purpose now was to help the tall whites acclimate their young to humanity. And he was the perfect first step to that. I'm not kidding you. That's in the fucking book. So, it's just true. He would spend 2 years at this place, continuing to interact with tall whites, learning more about their culture, technology, and so on. He would witness their advanced spacecraft, underground facilities, remarkable abilities to manipulate energy and matter. He also learned about their complex social structure, rigorous training programs, and their deep respect for knowledge and wisdom.
So the military just lets them hang out and do their advanced technology shit, and
they like him.
Yeah,
it's very sitcom vibes at the military
because they give some to the government as well. Like the government gets a piece of their tech, or whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
It's like Taxi.
The teacher remained his primary contact and through these 2 years, guiding him through the intricacies of tall white society and helping him understand their motivations and intentions. She kind of became his confidant, sharing her concerns and humanity's future and hopes for a peaceful resolution to the challenges that everybody face. Obviously, the relationship wasn't without its challenges either. There were moments of tension and misunderstanding, the two, as they kind of tried to learn each other's cultures.
Always left the toilet seat up.
Dude, I bet he fucking did. And that's got to be the worst sin of all. But after his 2 years were up, he would eventually end up as a temporary assignment. His temporary assignment concluded, and then he would be transferred to another base. And after that transfer, that ended. The government literally ended abruptly his interaction with the tall whites, because after it was done and he's got moved, he never interacted with the tall whites ever again.
Oh, that's so sad. It's like Romeo and Juliet, dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. This guy had friends. He had tall whites that loved him and respected him and thought he was the smartest, most not vomiting man in the world. Little did they know. And that is the story of Charles James Hall and his interaction and our only deep glimpse at this version of the supposed tall whites.
Man, I got to say, it's fun, but man can't write an ending. That's
no. To be fair, I did not read the 6th book.
He was
and then I woke up.
There was a point where I was like, I'm in. I want to know where this goes. Like, what's going to happen? Are they going to have a relationship? Is this going to is he going to have to tell his wife? But no, that's it.
Great supporting cast.
Great supporting
Yeah,
cast.
that's the story. And it's just one of those where, like, does the abrupt end make it more believable? I don't fucking know. Jesse, I know, immediately started looking something up.
I'm looking up the second book.
There's
I need
6
to know.
books. So how does the 6th book end? Would be
No, I just need to know what is this, like when movie 1 ends and they don't think they're going to get a sequel, but then they get a sequel, so they have to like start it up all over again. What happens?
So he didn't speak of these encounters until the early 2000s because he was afraid of being ridiculed and so on. But this all took place in the 1960s, mind you, 1965 to 1967.
Yo, all right. I don't know. Obviously, I only have access to so many pages of this sequel, but the sequel opens with "For nightmares come with many cares." And then the chapters are "The World We Knew," "Settling In," "Valentine's Day," "Customizing the Winds," "Shadowrun," "The Rabbit Test." There's one called "The Night the Laughter Stopped." This is awesome.
He got married after all of this. He got married when he got out of the Air Force.
What the fuck?
Oh, man.
So, yeah, he wasn't going home.
And oh my God, the second book ends with "Summer's End."
So the egg just cracked open.
This man is writing Game of Thrones. This is amazing.
Not, though. He's just not writing Game of Thrones.
He absolutely fucked the alien, dude. Absolutely.
But this is after he never saw them again?
And she removed it all.
He never saw them again?
Nope, that was it.
At the end of the first book.
We don't know that. That's what I'm saying.
What I understand is that the 6 books are his 2 years of dealing with the teacher and learning all kinds of things.
Just zoomed in?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like Harry Potter, kind of?
Yeah, I'm not going to read the next 5 books. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to read them. So I don't know what happens. It's a mystery. If you want to go read, good luck. It's a tough to get through. Because like he writes, Jesse may say he's writing Game of Thrones, but he lacks
Good Lord.
the oomph. 1,400 pages between the 6 books.
In terms of page count.
This right here says, this review on Amazon says, the second book continues his story as the main point of contact between the human race and the tall whites.
It's his 2 years. Like I said, I think it's his 2 years while he's talking to the tall whites.
As the main point of contact?
Yes, he's the only one the tall whites can be around because he's that cool, calm, and collected and genius and smart.
Well, then who the fuck is negotiating these deals where they sell them land and give them underground tunnels and shit?
Well, he's the only one that can be around the children, okay? He became like a tall white nanny.
This is incredible.
Yeah, you want to read them? Go ahead. They're not expensive.
What do you mean not expensive? It's $33 for the hardcover for Millennial Hospitality 3.
Oh, good Lord. I just bought the Kindle version for $5.
Hardcover.
There is apparently, across all the books,
Millennial Hospitality.
Readability and content, very high. Thumbs up. However, repetitiveness and authenticity are very low.
Yeah.
People are not sure if it's real.
If you want to come back for an episode 2, I'll fucking read more of these books. But if not, fuck the rest of these fucking books. I'm good.
I will come back for every time you want to talk about this guy because I'm so invested in Range 4 Harry.
People out there, man.
I'm so invested in his fucking alien mistress. Like, this is awesome. And
I want a Range 4 Harry video game. I want a Range 4 Harry comic. I want a Range 4 Harry movie.
2D action platformer, Range 4 Harry.
I can't fund shit, but I'll play the shit out of it.
So I had to look up why it was called Millennial Hospitality because I'm going to let you know I did not believe you when you told me that was
Why would I lie?
It literally says Millennial Hospitality is a series of etiquette books for the 21st century. It suggests how we might interact with aliens and answers questions the readers had.
Like I said, him talking to the millennial and how nice they are. And like,
that's a great premise, by the way. I would read a book that was like, this is an etiquette guide based on what I learned from the aliens.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If that's what like the pitch of the book, because that's not really how it reads. Like, that's rough.
By the way, this whole like framing of him really reads to me as like, it's a Mary Sue character, but somebody told him that the character needs to have a flaw. And
he can't cuck his general.
He vomits. That's the flaw.
His wife. Yeah. That was his wife. His wife and his daughter were his editors.
His flaws that he barfs, yeah.
So like they
were like
perfect
in this book. You gotta have a flaw.
Stop sleeping with the other the general's wife. Jesus. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us and jumping on Chilluminati.
I can't believe that's it. Oh, that's so disappointing.
That's 2 hours and 20 minutes of stuff.
Man, you fucking got your hooks in me, and then you just fucking let me go into the ocean, dude.
And never saw them again. The end.
And that's when I know you'll be back.
Now imagine 250 episodes of this bullshit.
That's why I love this fucking podcast. You can fucking do anything.
It's like when you go to someone's house and you leave something over so that you can have an excuse to come back.
They have to come back and get it.
Yeah. Oh, When we do another one, I'll let you know, my dude. But yeah, I very much appreciate you. Is there anything like big going on that you like want to shout out, or where people can find you online? I mean, I know where most people probably of our audience know where they can find you, but still.
What's something good that people are doing?
Headed out to Range 4 this weekend.
Yeah.
Check out my boy Harry.
Oh, after this. No question.
I mean, Harry at Range 4s, it's a bar.
I don't know. What am I watching? What am I listening to?
Are you watching anything good anime-wise? I'm about to... I don't know if people know Indie Mouse, but I'm working on starting an anime podcast with him. So.
Oh, cool.
We're going to watch first, but...
I don't know. Go kiss your loved ones. Tell them how much they mean to you.
That's probably the best answer we've ever had, I'll be honest.
Best answer any of my guests have ever had, period.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll go kiss my mom.
Very, very chill.
Thank you for joining us. We're off to go do a mini-sode for this week. It's over at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by the... I don't know who they are. There's two. What? Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer.
No.
Neo and Trinity.
No.
I don't understand, and I probably never will. Let me just tell you right now that there's two Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield.
I'm telling you, I think he literally just looked up famous duos.
Cheech and Chong.
And has just been going through the list ever since.
I'm trying to dig deep. Which one of you is Dick Powell?
Me? Your name's Jesse Cox. I want Chilluminati. I want my maker. I want Chilluminati. I want my
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by Alex and Jesse. Like a shooting star across the sky that's actually a UFO.